My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is the Ontario police who are gang stalking by helicopter. They are. And doing so with the people of the state who are stalking, maintaining surveillance on the sidewalk. This is where the fake sun is rising in the morning at 415 North Euclid Avenue. This is where the entity is stalking by commercial plane. And this is where the entity is engaged in what is state surveillance. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is occurring in what is impossible light activity. This is not normal light activity. This is indeed P.O.C. And it is 2:22 in the morning, where the entity is also engaged in surveillance on the video of the internet. This is the entity that is subject to federal prison. This is criminal activity. This is surveillance that a population is sharing in. Impossible light moving across the buildings. This is the same thing they're doing during the day when they're driving on this street. Engineer lights on the passenger side, the fake sun's on the driver's side, and engineer lights moving across this building. They're demons that are stalking with the Ontario police in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder of the person that is documenting it and prosecuting the state. The Ontario police is being disbanded, okay? And the demons are going to federal prison that committed kidnapping, okay? While they're still gang stalking as of 2:23 a.m. This is P.O.C. Engineer light on the curb. Starts sounding like that's a demon. Impossible light. This is Michael GERKEN, letting you know he's a sex offender. Coming around to participate in gang stalking, 1279874. No emergency, that's called criminal summoning. And it's under the fake sun that's over me. And this is your knowledge that Michael GERKEN in particular is a sex offender, monitoring my vagina inside of the library with the population that's engaging in surveillance under the fake sun that's still here into the evening. License 7UXM283 is monitoring with the government. That's what that fire truck represents. This is relevant to what is public corruption. And that's, again, the demons of the city of Ontario, the police department, the demons of the city of Ontario, American Medical Response, the demons of the city of Ontario, the people of the state, the demons of the city of Ontario. This is not the sun that will be over the entrance at 10 a.m. when it is remaining over the Economy Inn entrance at 201 South Euclid Avenue over my head. In the same manner, it's over my head here at 215 E.C. Street, which is, by the way, that's Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun is rising at 6:38 a.m. That was, again, impossible light that appeared on the sidewalk beside that fire truck, which is not any sort of sunlight. That's, again, demon possession that the government is letting you know that they suffer from. That's evidence of what is mental incompetence while they are engaged in criminal activity, which is shared by every other demon. No difference between businesses, no difference between the demons while they're driving their cars and they're stalking under the fake sun. That's Michael GERKEN's criminal conspiracy, the engagement in what is the conspiracy to commit murder by engaging in state surveillance with the people of the state. And it's not different between Mike LORENZ or Michael GERKEN, Paul Leon, Alan D. WAPNER. All right, this is the entity that's gang stalking to the city of Ontario. This is P.O.C. It's currently 10:01 a.m. and that's the government that's stalking. Remember yesterday the fake sun is remaining at the back of the library while I'm back there, and then I come to the entrance and it moves back right here rapidly. And then the Ontario police are stalking by helicopter and driving at the C Street. All those demons that are monitoring the evidence. This is the city of Ontario letting you know and confirming what it is that I've told you, that first of all, surveillance is real, and so are demons. And the demons that are in position are going to be removed. That's P.O.C. License 8JDW300. Sex offending, gang stalking, third parties. And you're going to understand, gang stalking immigrants are going to be deported. That's P.O.C. All right, this is where the entity is monitoring my vagina all day long, and that's a sex offense committed by the government and comes with the people of the state. P.O.C. All right, it is currently 12:10 p.m. It's still Saturday, September 6, 2025. This is documentation of the pattern of conduct, which is, again, the entity, a public entity that is also exposed as a satanic entity. This is exposing the practice of witchcraft. This is exposing satanic sacrifices. This is exposing what is Satanism, in other words, and all of the perversion and the mentally ill behavior that is manifest by the demon possessed as well, who are engaged in criminal activities. So this is a conspiracy to commit murder. That's the only reason why the government is ever engaged in keeping you under criminal surveillance. Doing so in the satanic means that the P.O.C. reveals. And the entity is doing so while it is also, under my circumstances, the first being documented in real time. So this is a public entity that has conspired the murder of an American citizen, that is simultaneously exposing and maintaining detailed documentation pertaining to it. And what I want to detail is the entity that's engaged in what is, in furtherance of that conspiracy to commit murder, engaging in what is tampering with food. This is something that Tracy Banks has been engaged in, I want to be clear, for a prolonged period, for years. I mean, unbeknownst to me, but again, aware of, which I'm aware of it because I've been documenting her. And so any anything that I have ever observed or experienced after especially consuming food around her or prepared by her, I would document that. And so I do want to be clear. The entity is gang stalking, and the entity is also very hostile. I'm documenting, for example, those that are subject to federal prison of the Ontario Police Department. Okay, I want to be clear, the Ontario Police is gang stalking in furtherance of committing murder, and tampering with food is that which is committed in furtherance of the purpose of gang stalking in the first place, which is murder. We document these demons. License 6YTP096. License 7ZPV122. Ontario Police engaged in bathroom monitoring right outside of the bathroom. All right, in relevant position, you'll see the fake sun reflecting off of the rear windshield of vehicle number 1127. They're engaged in criminal monitoring, doing so by concentrating their activity pursuant to criminal summoning around what is the people of the state who are gang stalking as well. They're engaged in actually the sex offense of monitoring me in the bathroom, and you'll see the fake sun right over my head at the edge of the library where it was present at 10 o'clock in the morning, where they're engaged in the criminal pattern of conduct. These are sex offenders that like to appear while they're in uniforms, engaging in something that is related to the execution of duties of law enforcement officers. They're engaging in sexual violence. 1706921. They're engaged in criminal monitoring. They're under the fake sun that's at the same entrance, by the way, for example, at 1:07 p.m. when I'm coming from Starbucks. This is understanding. You're looking at that body of evidence. They're bearing weapons while they're monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. They were stalking at 2 o'clock this morning in helicopter and engineer light, and they're stalking right now at 12:13 p.m. where the fake sun's remaining over me at what is 1841 East G Street, where the Ontario Police are gang stalking by helicopter on video, in images, and by podcast at 12:32 p.m. and 12:52 p.m. These are the people of the state and the entity that are playing cops and robbers while they're monitoring. You're going to see the fake sun move as I move, crossing paths with the demon-possessed agency that's going to be disbanded, engaging in sexual violence in concert with the people, and doing so under the guise of what's supposed to appear as an investigation. This is the entity that is stalking. This is the entity that's practicing sexual violence. This is the entity that is demon-possessed, and this is the entity that's conspiring murder while they're engaging in criminal surveillance. Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields are going to federal prison for this. They are monitoring, and they're also engaged in psychological torture, the practice of witchcraft. And the people of the state, license 9UNEO75, is engaging in gang stalking and monitoring sexual violence, conspiracy to murder with them while they're pacing all around the library where the fake sun is still present after 6 p.m. License 1706939. This is the entity that's engaged in monitoring me in the bathroom. This is where I just stepped out right now. They're aware of everything that just happened in the bathroom. 2 males. This is the same male that's gang stalking at Starbucks. This is the same male that's gang stalking at 1:07 p.m. when I'm coming from Starbucks at 507 North Avenue with the demons that are there at the entrance where I'm coming from Starbucks, standing here, capturing the fake sun. That is, again, today remaining stationary over the entrance at 10 a.m. as I walk to the venue. Documented in the end of June when the band of demons were already at the entrance, the fake sun's remaining over Starbucks, where this agency committed kidnapping at 7:15 in the morning, and the sun is not over the entrance. The entity's remaining over me with that fake sun at Starbucks that commits kidnappings in the same way that they're engaging in monitoring with the people of the state. W734U0, recognizing stalking, recognizing sexual violence, recognizing psychological torture, recognizing public corruption is inherent to the evidence of what is the fake sun. The fake sun is over this same venue as I'm documenting at 7 in the morning when I'm standing at this parking lot. That was just days ago, and I juxtapose that with the fake sun being at the same entrance. These are sex offenders. All right, this is P.O.C. They're engaged in bathroom monitoring. And they're engaged in what is surveillance while the entity is engaged in what is stalking me in the bathroom. Going inside, maintaining activity while they are outside in relevant position, engaging in sexual violence together. And what I want to document, this is exactly what it is that I'm going to expose. This is relevant for federal prison. These are the demons gang stalking and engineer light surrounding glorious cochinas, aiming light at it while the entity flies over my head by helicopter. And they're all in engineer light with multiple shadows. Doing so, they're stalking an engineer light right now under what is a fake sun that's still at this entrance as I walk out after 6 p.m. This is the outward demonstration of what is mentally ill people who are engaging in corrupt behavior while they're engaged in stalking and monitoring another person whom they conspire to murder as corrupt police officers that are bearing weapons, wearing badges, and exercising authority under the law that they don't have. This is why they're going to prison. Okay? This is mentally ill behavior. And the people of the state are the demons stalking with impossible light, stalking under a fake sun. And remember, it's remaining over my hotel room at Economy Inn at the same time. It's not the sun. They're demons and they're stalking. It's remaining over me at the 1841 East G Street. The entity's engaging what is stalking. The entity's doing so with impossible light, which the demons of the Ontario Fire Department showed you today under that 10 a.m. fake sun, and it's still here over me at the same address. They're demons and they're stalking, and they are all engaged in monitoring my vagina, which is why Mike LORENZ is all over X, while you see the list of demons who are going to prison for kidnapping. This is P.O.C. We got a fire? Oh, okay. Are they parking here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is P.O.C. This is criminal summoning.
Thank you.
This is the same demons that are engaged in stalking with impossible light, and they're doing so while the entity is maintaining the specific. That's a side of that engaged in kidnapping. She's going to prison. This is, again, what's your badge number?
You need to walk away.
Why?
Stand over there.
Why?
Because you're impeding.
How? I'm standing here on public property.
So we're going to talk to him about his mental.
I don't care. You don't need to talk to me. Talk to him. I'm getting your criminal activity. A is going to prison. And so is he. He's going to prison. If you want to provide your number, you can do that. Yeah. If you want to talk to me about your badge number. I didn't think so because you're monitoring right now. While they're engaged in criminal summoning, this is pasting and engineer light. Okay? He's engaging in what? Don't worry about me. Worry about your patient, Satan. You're going to prison, all three of these. She engaged in kidnapping under the fake sun that's on the same street that it was at 7:15 in the morning on July 4, 2025. She's a homosexual, demon-possessed, gang-stalking psychopath monitoring my vagina in relevant position inside of this library. And she's engaging in this with, again, Ocean, who's also going to federal prison. They're pulling out all stops. You know AMR's a gang stalker. You know Ontario Fire is a gang stalker. And you already know that these demons are gang stalking. And they are actually obsessed with monitoring my vagina right now. And who are they centering their attention around while the Ontario International Airport is the means of amplified audible activity? The people of the state that are demons gang stalking every day at night, like I've been documenting. Where you're driving under a fake sun and psychopaths like the way. Remember, they're having police training at 7 in the morning, and this is the fake sun that's right here at 303. You can have a wild psychopath waves at you. Those are the ones going to prison. Okay? This is, again, AMR that's going to be removed, the Ontario Fire, and the Ontario Police that are going to be removed, and the Ontario International Airport. This is all manner of public corruption. The sex offender that is Mike LORENZ, the sex offender that is Michael GERKEN, the sex offender that is Alan D. WAPNER. A Casada is going to federal prison, and so are her little two demon-possessed buddies. This is the entity that comes with an ambulance and a fire truck, and that's supposed to be a distraction. These are the demons that think that they can line around a building in the middle of the night, stalking me and monitoring, pulling out a helicopter and calling that an investigation. These are the demons under a fake sun, engaging what is tampering with food and further to the conspiracy to commit murder, while then they're monitoring in a bathroom to see what's going on with your vagina between your legs, seeing how that poison food is affecting you. They're going to prison. And psychopaths like to look perplexed when they're monitoring you in engineer light and under a fake sun. This is the entity that engaged in kidnapping with Tracy Banks, the entity that engaged in kidnapping with Economy Inn, the entity that engaged in kidnapping with the OVITT Family Community Library, June 16, 2022. This fake sun is over the same venue at 10:29 a.m. They're demons and they're going to federal prison. And those are demons of AMR that are supposed to provide an illusion of legitimacy because they put somebody on a bed, and it's not. It's the activity creation. Those are the demons that you saw stalking with impossible light, because when you're driving under the sun, light doesn't appear beside that vehicle on the ground. Those are demons that are engaged in that P.O.C. That's the amplified train activity. This is the pattern of conduct. This is documentation of bathroom monitoring. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. Michael GERKEN, look at the video at 9:59 a.m. The fake sun's over the same venue. It's 12:20 p.m. Michael GERKEN and Mike LORENZ are all engaged in sexual violence, and AMR is contracted with the City of Ontario to engage in state surveillance, not the actual legitimate provision of ambulatory services, and that's also why they're subject to the prosecution of the state of California. All right? A Casada is going to federal prison. She engaged in sexual assault and battery. And this homosexual sex psychopath who is demon-possessed, monitoring another woman's vagina in the bathroom, wearing a police uniform and doing so, is going to federal prison like all the rest of her partners right here. Stalking in the path, in alignment to the same venue where the fake sun is present at 9:59 a.m. All right? The entities engaging in this with the people of the state that are stalking in that bathroom, and the fake sun is moving as I move. Those demons are going to prison, okay? This is the band of demons that are engaged in stalking every day and every night in helicopter, stalking over me for 20 minutes in helicopter, and then they circle around a person, they circle around a building. They're aided by the fire department and AMR, who are demons gang stalking as well, and that's supposed to create an illusion of legitimacy, and it's not. This is public corruption, and they're doing so with the demons who are the people of the state who include children in that sex offense. P.O.C. 107-6939, 107-6921. They're going to prison. That's a sex offense committed by the entity. Since June 16, 2022, the fake sun's over the same entrance, 10:29 a.m. You see those demons stuck with flashing light? Demons monitoring. Demons that engage in waving at the camera and smiling
while there's psychopaths caught in the act. Demons that are stuck with impossible light every other day, engineer light moving across the building, and they're monitoring together. License T792YC, Utah. It doesn't become legitimate when you add the demons of the fire department and the demons of the AMR ambulance. They're engaged in monitoring my vagina in here. The kidnapping on June 16, 2022 happened under the fake sun. The band of demons that committed kidnapping did so at 10:29 a.m. It's the same time of year. It's 12:22 p.m. That documentation is currently published on my website. This is the P.O.C.wordpress.com. This is the entity that's stalking while this fake sun's in the same position, while the Ontario police are stalking in a helicopter at 6 o'clock in the evening. That documentation is published on YouTube right now. They're engaged in what is monitoring my vagina, which is right in here in relevant position, while the fake sun moves around me as I move around that building. Demons, and they're going to prison. They're going to federal prison. This is the disbanding of sex offenders. That's why the Ontario Fire Department drove by this morning and Engineer Light appears on the sidewalk. Pulling up fire trucks and ambulances will not make federal group stalking and monitoring legitimate. They're going to prison for conspiring the murder of an American citizen and doing so wearing police badges, doing so wearing police uniforms, and using fire trucks and ambulances. That's the entity that conspires your murder and is supposed to be looked at and given unfettered, not unfettered, but unwarranted legitimacy, which it does not have. This is the prosecution of the state of California, the disbanding of the Ontario police. Who's going to federal prison? Let's list it again, because they're done with law enforcement. C. Torres, L. Martinez, A. Quesada, who you just saw, she's going to prison. These demons under the fake sun with her, they're going to federal prison, but also engaging in kidnapping at 7:15 in the morning on this same street where the sun would not be over Starbucks at 7:15 in the morning, which you see on video on July 4th, and still on the same street at what is almost 1 o'clock, it's 12:23 p.m. This is A. Quesada, L. Edwards, and Alex Escobar, who are going to federal prison. C. Torres, L. Martinez, B. Hook, and Nathan Morgan are going to federal prison, and so is C. Hazelwood, and so is Owens. They're going to federal prison. The entities engaging in this while they were monitoring me in the bathroom, those are violent sex offenders, not law enforcement officers. And the people that stayed are the demon-possessed sex offenders aware of what's going on between my legs and in that bathroom as well, while they're all in engineer light, pacing around the bathroom, monitoring with communication devices in the specific environment. This is the same Ontario Town Square where I'm present at 7 in the morning and you see the fake sun. This is not the natural environment they're monitoring, and they're sex offenders. P.O.C. This is exactly what I wanted to document. I'm going to cease the video now because you're listening to that. That's the fake sun, by the way, over the same entrance. They just committed a sex offense. The entity is providing evidence, because what you're also going to look at is the entity that engaged in kidnapping on June 16, 2022. And the entity is under the fake sun at 10:29 on June 16, 2022. This is time of day and time of year analysis where they're engaging in the sex offense of monitoring genitalia in a bathroom and calling that law enforcement, which it is not. They're doing that in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder, while that entity engages in what is a fraudulent marriage with Jason Isaac Fields, who's going to prison, a secret conservatorship procured by fraud, with the theft of my identity by Tracy Banks, who's going to federal prison, who was acting pursuant to a state surveillance system, which the Ontario Police Department are at the forefront of, because the entity is engaging in what is kidnapping through corrupt police practices such as gang stalking, which is only committed in furtherance of murder. Now, to that end, what it is that I wanted to document while I'm going outside and capturing evidence of bathroom monitoring, the entity is engaged in what is tampering with food. Now, while the entity is engaged in what is tampering with food, I've documented this before. And the entity is, again, they're obsessed with me. They're listening to me change my clothes in the bathroom. They're listening to me relieve myself in the bathroom. They're listening to the entity, and they're also demons who are monitoring. So these are psychopaths that are pacing all around an engineer light. They're doing so under a fake sun. And you're looking at, again, the demons that are doing so while they are being documented in real time. So first of all, they're monitoring surveillance pursuant to monitoring, and also surveillance pursuant to what's going on using communication devices. They're lined up at the circulation desk, gang stalking. They're walking in and out of the entrances pursuant to gang stalking. They're outside of the venue of the same library entrance where I'm showing you all the demons that are gang stalking at 9:59, including the Ontario Fire Department. And the entity has the fake sun in the same position over me. It remains over me as I go from the entrance to the side of the building. You'll see all that on video. So the entity is engaging in this, and of course it doesn't work the moment that, don't worry about it, the dispense doesn't work. Are you waiting for this? No? Oh, okay. They're gang stalking by getting in line behind the demons at the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library circulation desk. The entity is engaging in this while the fake sun is moving over me while I am at the same entrance that the Ontario Fire are exhibiting demon possession, the engineer light. Okay, they are monitoring everything that's going on in a bathroom. A Quesada is a sex offender. So is the heavyweight Latino male. I've documented him. This is now the third occasion under the fake sun. Okay, covering up the fake sun when he's gang stalking at Starbucks, and you'll see in the documentation moments after I capture that video of the fake sun covered up, which is already on the record over me at that Starbucks at that same time during the 8 a.m. hour. The entity then uncovers that fake sun, which again, when you're looking at the evidence of a fake sun remaining over one building from, for example, the time of the business hours of the library, for example, 10 until 6, that's the evidence of what is an entirely engineered environment, and it's demonic, and everybody in that environment is a demon that's engaged in what is exposed as gang stalking. The egregiously violent sex offense is inherent to gang stalking. Demons are working for and in leadership over the fire department, over the police department, and AMR ambulance, who immediately pulled up while documentation is being captured, and that's relevant to not only monitoring, i.e. impunity, and still engage in criminal activity in real time, but it's also relevant to the entity that's relying on this superficial veneer. A fire truck pulls up, an ambulance pulls up, and that's supposed to make it legitimate, okay? The entity is engaging in light activity, relevant positioning, and ongoing audible activity while they were engaged in monitoring my vagina, monitoring what's going on, monitoring what's going on with the food that I ate, how is it affecting her, while they're engaged in, again, what I'm publishing on the internet about these demons gang stalking in the library all day long, while they're doing so under a fake sun, because that's what you're doing under a sun that doesn't go anywhere. You're gang stalking and they're demons in doing so. So I'm stepping out as I'm getting ready to speak on that topic. Excuse me. Well, I'm getting ready to speak on that topic, and the entity is already in relevant position monitoring while I'm speaking about that. The entity is engaged in monitoring even while I step out, and there's no Ontario police present. As I'm walking out at 10 after 10 yesterday, and the Ontario police are flying over the venue and driving by, which is crossing path under the fake sun. Remember, it was behind the library at the College of University of Laverne College of Law, and the City Hall behind the library. And then when I walk out the entrance, it's at the front again. Where the day before that, it remained over the Ontario Town Square because I didn't come to the library until after 11. This is the entity that's keeping the fake sun while I'm at 1841 East G Street, which again, it is 1232 and 1252, where the Ontario police are stalking me by helicopter, replete with what is the evidence of the fake sun, which so that you'll know that it is indeed stalking, and stalking a specific person in a distinct location where the sun is not over the entrance of the library, both from 10 a.m. until after 12 p.m. like I'm capturing now, nor is it simultaneously over my head or over anybody's head or over the property at 1841 East G Street, Ramada by Wyndham, where I'm documenting on podcast and I'm capturing images of that fake sun directly over the top of my head. The entities engaging what is stalking, all manner of that is exposed while they were while they were engaged in what is relevant to that, monitoring me in the bathroom before I walk out and document that sex offense proven by the criminal surveillance of the Ontario police, who are exposed as violent sex offenders, who are obsessed with my genitalia, and they are obsessed with everything concerning me, while they are also sexually obsessed with me. They're engaged in stalking day and night. And the entities engaging in this in furtherance of a conspiracy to murder, and these are demons that are maintaining this criminal system under what is the corrupt and dangerous leadership of both Mike Lorenz and Paul Leon and Gavin Newsom. Okay, I want to be clear, the entity is engaging in what is tampering, and so this is what I want to detail right now. While the entity is engaged very much and indeed engaged in what is tampering with my food, I've only been purchasing food from very few venues, and I'm going to expose that right now. I'm going to document because the entity is engaged in that which is in furtherance of murder, and is doing so while demons like Jason Isaac Fields are counting on my death with regard to, again, this is a demon that's engaged in theft of money and property from me, conspiring my death prolonged with regard to gang stalking me, targeting me with Tracy Banks. These are both hitmen with regard to their role in targeting me with the state of California. And while I'm in the city of Ontario, okay, because this is what's happening when I'm in Hesperia, as I'm documenting, proven through what is a fake sun that's remaining specifically over me at the key point in Holiday Inn in Hesperia, California, where the entity is maintaining a fake sun over me, and not just over that hotel, but over my hotel room window. That's what I'm capturing during this time in Hesperia, where the fake sun is over my hotel room specifically. In the morning, that fake sun is in perfect alignment with me while I'm at this time of year at the Ontario Town Square, when I'm at the Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue in the morning, when I'm at 415 North Euclid Avenue, and the fake sun is rising in alignment to me at 6:39 a.m. That's not outside of the entrance doors of the Holiday Inn on 9750 Key Point. And that's relevant to analyzing a natural environment. Even meteorologists do that with regard to how you're measuring rainfall. Oh, this is historic, and how do they measure that? Based on what happened in this year and this time of year, and that's historic, or this is, again, this is different than what happened at this time of year at this time, 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Because this is what was happening. And this is what you're comparing, juxtaposing this superficial, this illusion, this satanic environment where the police are exposed as engaging in a satanic means of surveillance. And they're doing that also while they are conspiring to murder someone that they are obsessively keeping under surveillance, stalking. And the Ontario Police Department are doing that through every corrupt actor like a Casada, and doing so. And she is literally surrounded. The fake son that's on Euclid Avenue at 7:15 in the morning, and the fake son that's off of Euclid Avenue at the OVITT Family Community Library right now during the 12 p.m. hour. She's going to prison. She's going to prison for kidnapping, period. But the evidence is what is proving that she is indeed a demon who's engaged in criminal surveillance, not law enforcement. And that level of malice is relevant to the premeditation behind murdering someone and then trying to control the narrative after the fact, which is the exact purpose of the government engaging in a secret system of surveillance. Okay. And that is all proven through the specific environment. The specific environment is speaking to how any other witness in another state could also testify to the sun being over you, and that a Casada is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring because the sun is not over the entrance of the library from 9:59 a.m. over me as well, and also still remaining as I exit during the 12 p.m. hour, and also over you in Florida. Okay, not at the same time. And even when you isolate the universe to here, like the demons do, keeping a fake sun over me no matter where I'm at for the duration of the day, the sun is not an idle object that doesn't move and rises on one side of a building and sets on the opposite. This is where the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct. So I want to be clear, the entity is engaging in this with regard to monitoring me in the bathroom, and it's relevant to tampering with food. It is, today is September 6th, so I want to document here the entity that's engaged in what is monitoring where the only place where I have been eating as of late is essentially the market at Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue, a third-party facilitating venue that is engaged in targeting me in furtherance of murder. So this is a commercial means of stalking the establishment and the employees and all the demons that I'm documenting, gang stalking at the gas stalls while they're stalking in the path with the Ontario International Airport, with the Ontario Police Department, with the demons of the AMR who pulled up under the fake sun to aid in the sex offense of bathroom monitoring and to provide what is failing in any sort of persuasive means of what are all the elements of monitoring. So all the demons come and aid in gang stalking with an ambulance and a fire truck, because that's supposed to, in their alternate universe where you're disregarding engineer light, disregarding the kidnapping on June 16, 2022, when you're comparing an environment of what is naturally occurring. And that unnatural environment is directly relevant to the malice of gang stalking in the first place. And the entity is doing so pursuant to bathroom monitoring. I'm in the bathroom, and the entity is monitoring what's going on, and they're very much interested in what's going on because what I want to document is the entity tampering with food, and this is relevant to what is my digestive system that is immediately reacting, which is I pay very close attention to my body, and any sort of anomalies, irregularity is relevant to the entity that's gang stalking me and targeting me and further into trying to take my life, which again, this is foolish. The entity is engaging in that, and then as though no one's going to know what happened and no one's going to look at the end. All this evidence is not going to disappear, nor is the case against the government, the case against Jason Fields, the case against Tracy Banks. The entity is desperate, however, because the entity seeks to conceal as much as it can by avoiding a day in court, but it's not going to cease in what is the removal of this case against the entity that is acting in furtherance of murder. But I want to be clear, Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields are directly behind and liable for, in the same way that the mayor is, the same way that the police chief is, the same way that the documented terrorists of the Ontario police who are stalking me day and night, who I'm documenting, threatening my life while they're stalking me under the fake sun, and you are stalking me. It's not about the third party that they're standing in front of talking to. It's about the fake sun that remains over me, over my head as I walk around that building, and I capture that phenomenon at 12 o'clock in the afternoon when it's over my head at that same venue, and then remaining over my head as I go back to that same entrance after 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was there at 9:59 a.m., where, by the way, the same demons of the Ontario Fire Department illustrated to you that they're monitoring, while engineered light, orange radiant light, appears vacillating across the asphalt, which is no product of sunlight. It is the engagement in gang stalking, demonic activity, psychological torture, and the sex offense of molestation with impossible light when the demons are touching you, molesting you with it while they're monitoring you. Okay, at 9:59 a.m. and 12 p.m., the Ontario Police Department and the Fire Department are demons who are engaged in criminal monitoring. That was a malicious iteration of it. It's called criminal summoning. And the demons of the Fire Department and the demons of AMR are gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments, doing so under the fake sun, which I documented at Tracy Banks' apartment. And that fake sun remains over me at the front door, as I'm documenting in that parking lot where that fake sun remained, never left the property of Woodside, a facilitating venue, by the way, not over the OVITT Family Community Library during the 12 p.m. hour at all. But nonetheless, the entity keeps that fake sun, and the Ontario Fire Department are engaging in what is exposing public corruption with AMR under a fake sun, where they just go to who are the people of the state. They're going to the co-defendants and engaging in what is providing them any level of attention. And while doing so, they're doing so in the exact same crime scene under a whole fake sun, which NASA will confirm and no one can reasonably deny. The entity's doing so amongst what is documentation of engineer-led a pattern of conduct. And while they are creating any means of activity, meaning using the vehicles on the fire truck, on the ambulance, on the police vehicles, they're monitoring. They're demons who are monitoring, and they're engaging in the criminal activity while they're wearing those uniforms. That's public corruption, both while they're sharing a criminal activity with the population, while they're engaging in criminal activity against an American citizen like myself and doing so, including while I'm documenting it, and also while they're doing so in furtherance of an ultimate objective, which is murder. This is why the government is gang stalking any American citizen, and this is why the entity is tampering with food. Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue is the facilitating video that is engaged in criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder. And pursuant to that, the entity is, again, providing food that it anticipates that I will purchase based on stalking and monitoring, and tampering with food that it anticipates that I will purchase. And so I do have my receipts here, and I'm going to document them. The entity is engaging, well, I've maintained it, but I'm going to capture images of it and upload it to the Google Drive, because this is where I'm purchasing nothing but bags of chips. I bought orange juice this morning. I bought a turkey croissant sandwich. So it has a slice of cheese, croissant bread, and turkey. There's no condiments on it. I don't put it, not that I know of, I don't see anything. There's a mayonnaise packet, but I don't use mayonnaise. And I typically don't even use condiments. But the entity's engaging in what is, after I consume that sandwich and the jalapeno chips, this is, again, probably about 30 minutes later, I'm experiencing not severe, but very minor digestive issues. And I do go to the restroom, and I'm subject to surveillance. The demon-possessed enter into the restroom with a minor child. This is a sex act that they're committing at a quote-unquote family community, end quote, library, where the entity is doing so. You're monitoring in a bathroom, you're stalking in a bathroom. These are homosexual women that are, again, under the, ostensibly heterosexual because they have children, or at least in custody of children. These are homosexual women, like A. Casada is a homosexual woman. She's actually monitoring another woman's vagina while you're seeing her outside of the building under what is a fake sun that remains over me as I encounter her, which is a threat to my life, safety, and well-being, while she's engaged in psychological torture, bathroom monitoring, which is an egregiously violent sex offense, and she's engaged in a pattern of stalking me in furtherance of murder, having already committed a kidnapping and specifically also a sexual assault and battery. It's not a lawful search of my person. You're engaged in a sexual assault and battery while you are keeping me under surveillance and then committing kidnapping with Starbucks on July 4, 2025. This is A. Casada that's off of the same Euclid Avenue, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's almost over 4 hours later. She's at what is 0.4 miles down the street south of that same Starbucks, where the sun would not be present 4 hours later south of that same venue on the same street, from 7:15 a.m. until it's after 12 p.m. And she is gang stalking me. All right, she's a sex offender and a homosexual, demon-possessed psychopath, and that's exactly why I used all of those adjectives to precisely and accurately describe this domestic terrorist. And the sex offenders with her wearing that same uniform, representing that same enemy of the United States is the Ontario Police, sex offenders of the male gender who are equally engaged in violating the genitalia of another, criminally keeping that genitalia and that person under surveillance. And the entity is equally interested in murder, and tampering with food is relevant to that. Okay, so I am purchasing food from Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, documenting the pattern of conduct. The fake sun over me after 5 p.m. at this Chevron. The fake sun over me while California Highway Patrol is gang stalking at that venue by being a patron. This is public corruption exposed, and the fake sun is over me at 6 o'clock. I documented that. It's on the record. I'm documenting it on a daily basis, the fake sun over me. Chevron is right next to where the 415 North Euclid Avenue sunrise is, as I documented yesterday at 6:39 a.m. and the entity has the fake sun. Chevron is literally right there next to that documented fake sunrise. Chevron is engaged in gang stalking, and all I do is walk to that Chevron, and that fake sun moves as I move, and that's what you see while I'm at the entrance of the library right now. And I'm walk around that building where the fake sun, by the way, is at that parking lot as I'm walking toward that parking lot at 7 in the morning, and yet at 12 in the afternoon, it's going toward that parking lot as I walk in that direction to encounter the sex offenders that are engaging in public corruption in order to engage in what is the malicious guise of sexual violence. Pulling over the people of the state, conversing with them, which is stalking in the path, relevant positioning, monitoring, while the people of the state engage in pacing for them, engage in activity creation for them, especially in the bathroom, while they're engaged in the sex offense of gang stalking in a bathroom together with communication devices. Okay, these are predators. All right, the entities engaged in that, and I want to be clear, this is what they're interested in. I am experiencing mild digestive issues, and this is pursuant to what it is that I'm purchasing at the only place. I'm not eating at a wide variety of places. I'm sleeping at 415 North Euclid Avenue, where I'm documenting the fake sun, where I'm documenting the Ontario police gang stalking me nightly. All right, I'm documenting the Ontario police gang stalking me on a daily basis at the Ontario Town Square, at 415 North Euclid Avenue, going to Chevron, walking back to the library, where the entity has the fake sunset, where A. Quesada and the other two demons that are gang stalking with the fire department with AMR are stalking, and the evidence is also what I'll capture in the evening, the remaining of the fake sun at that same location over me. Then that's already on the record. I was literally narrating it, reminding you about it in the midst of that video that I captured. It's already on the record. The entity pulls up in fire trucks and ambulances, and it's a failed effort. Okay, because I've shown you all of the malice, I've shown you all of their tactics. They think that you're going to take more seriously and listen more loudly to that fire department's sirens than you are the evidence of the P.O.C. They think that you're going to take more seriously and directly ignore all of the evidence of the specific environment than you will the police uniforms and those badges and the serious demeanor of the sex offenders that think that their badge is weightier than the evidence of the P.O.C., than the testimony of the targeted individual, and it's not. It's not. And I've documented every iteration of the sex offenders of the fire department and AMR and the Ontario Fire Department, by the way. I've documented every iteration of that. They've done that before. And they're doing it under the fake sun. They're doing it in engineered light. It is nothing but surveillance, and they're sex offenders who are, again, engaged in what is obsession, proving and demonstrating their obsession with my vagina. Okay? Because this is what they're monitoring. So while I'm in the bathroom and they're under a fake sun, a whole cartoon environment, and they want you to take them seriously by engaging in what is a stop of the people of the state, the same psychopaths who are, again, rabbit poo crazy, stalking with impossible light, and you're supposed to forget that, and that this is supposed to be a legitimate traffic stop or a health check. They're engaged in what is a conversation distinct from what all of the population has already shown. Demons that are stalking me by the thousands while I'm inside of Starbucks, for example, or inside of Town Place Suites by Marriott, or inside of Chase Bank, and engineer light is cycling all through like tornadoes while they are outside of the building in vehicles driving by. A supernatural occurrence, as supernatural as the sun being over the same address from 9:59 a.m. until after 12 p.m. Indeed, until after 2:44 p.m. Even more, even after 6 p.m., where the entities engaging in what is malicious iterations of stalking somebody as a population, keeping that crime scene over me all day long. And it's the evidence off of Euclid Avenue of a fake sunrise on the east side of Euclid Avenue and a fake sunset on the west side of Euclid Avenue, where A. Quesada and her two other sex-offending, psychopathic sex offenders wearing Ontario Police Department badges and uniforms, using county-issued vehicles.
All right, it is currently, let me give the time, it's 1:25 p.m. My battery died on my other phone, so I'm going to continue recording, and this is what you're listening to, so that's why I'm just continuing wherever it left off. And because I haven't plugged it back in, I don't know at what point it stopped, but I do want to go ahead and sum up my thoughts. I want to make sure that it's clear. I'm going to publish the images of the receipts because I have only been consuming food from one facilitating venue as of September 2nd. Right, just to go back, so it's been, in other words, several days, and the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and today's the 6th, with regard to where I've been eating as of late, and the mild indigestion that I experienced which is relevant to a criminal system that is conspiring harm to me, that is conspiring my death, targeting me obsessively, and addicted in doing so, even facing worldwide exposure for terrorism in doing so, and still doing that, exhibiting mental illness like the demons of the Ontario Police and the Ontario Fire Department and American Medical Response exhibit in the face of that evidence. Still, that's speaking to obsession, that's speaking to mental illness while they're in the face of that evidence. You're already mentally ill engaging in the first place. You're also mentally ill while in the face of that evidence, which everybody else sees as well, and you're still stalking. It's the same thing with the public nuisance of the stalking by helicopter. Who in their right mind is giving that sort of evidence, in their right mind, that sort of evidence to a plaintiff who is going to prosecute? I'm going to prosecute with that hard evidence, okay? These are, again, they're more obsessed and delusional than they are sane and rational. This is, again, a prolonged obsession with me, and this obsession is born of what is a mental illness. This is attributed to what is demon possession, okay? So that's what I want to get it, make sure that I explicitly state. Now, I stated a lot, and I hope that a large chunk of it was included in the podcast, but I'm going to just, by faith, not go over that again, because perhaps there are some things that the Lord does not want me to share, so that's fine. But what I am thinking of right now is that I just want to make it clear that the entity that is targeting is also spiritually attacking me, and this is what Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks specifically are engaging in together, and they are part of an entity that is demonic and also an entity that is engaged in public corruption. That public entity, they represent both, okay? In other words, the corrupt government that's engaged in public corruption is engaged in what is a satanic system, and what is exposed as surveillance as well, and it's both inhumane and unconstitutional. And while I am subject to this form of harm today, the entity is spiritually attacking me at the same time, and that's also relevant for what is I've already stated explicitly, and I'm going to reiterate it because it remains the federal government's responsibility to ensure that any American citizen, as I have exposed what American citizens are subject to in this country, and it is criminal surveillance in furtherance of trying to murder them, doing so in a way that bears negatively on their character, claiming that they killed themselves, claiming that they are a drug addict, or it's because of them and some wrongfulness that they were engaged in that harm came upon them. When the entity is engaged in targeting, the entity is engaged, first of all, criminal surveillance, and secondly, the entity is engaged in what is targeting an American citizen as a whole population that is mentally deranged and accomplishes murder in doing so. That is, again, relevant for criminal defamation. The entity is engaging in an unabated program of psychological torture before taking the life of that American citizen who is innocent insofar as the government has no legitimate interest to engage in criminal surveillance. Okay, so I want to make sure that that is clear. And just as an aside, because I am exposing the demon possessed, not only is the entity monitoring me and engaged in tampering with food, and I'm documenting where I've been eating as of late, so it's very, very small with regard to where that is coming from, because I'm not eating all over the place. I'm not going everywhere. And I'm literally going from 415 North Euclid Avenue to the Chevron to the library, to the Chevron, back to 415 North Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun is rising and setting. And these idiots were under the fake sun in the middle of it. All they're doing was monitoring my vagina. You saw the fire department come in and engage in that, trying to make it look like less of a crime scene. You made it look like more of a crime scene. You know that Michael Gerken is a sex offender. Look at the Google Drive. Look at the word sex offender and his face and name, Michael Gerken. Those are the demons that are engaging in criminal activity, public corruption together. And they surmise, they presuppose that wearing those uniforms and having those positions is going to sound louder than hard evidence of what is criminal activity, criminal surveillance, public corruption, a satanic sex offense. Okay, but it's not. It just flat out is not. And but it is exposing public corruption. So who else comes in engaging in that criminal activity? Their co-defendants, Ontario Fire and American Medical Response, which there's a whole body of evidence surrounding each aspect of that criminal act. AMR is surrounded with evidence. Ontario Fire is surrounded with evidence. Ontario PD is surrounded with evidence for years. I have a whole body of evidence for each one of them. Okay, but they represent one entity. So The entity is engaging in this, and aside from what is the system of gang stalking, they're also engaged in what is spiritually attacking. And this is the entity that is engaged in this celebratory, this spiritual attack, which again, this is a psychopath, Jason Isaac Fields. And again, I'm not sure where my phone cut off, so I'm just going to briefly go over this. But I was stating, to the extent going over the mental illness of the demon possessed, that includes those whose name I know, Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks. These are two sex partners, one my mother, and Jason Isaac Fields. This is a fake friend, somebody that I was never in love with, somebody that I was never even in an exclusive or romantic I was never in a romantic relationship, nor an exclusive romantic relationship, none of the above. He was a fake friend. Okay, if anything, I was a friend to him. He was not a friend to me. And not only that, he was practicing witchcraft the whole time. When I met him at San Bernardino Valley College, he had already been engaged in sexual activity with my mother. So he had already had sex with her when he introduced himself as a recruit to target me. Okay, and he was engaged in witchcraft. This is a demon from the day that I met him, and he still is. And this is somebody that has, in other words, rapidly declined with regard to his mental instability. And he has both an obsession and also a sexual obsession, and it's also a delusion because it's rooted in nothingness. He's been having sex with this elderly woman, 60 some odd years old, my mother, and again, there is nothing, absolutely nothing similar between she and I. So it's only in his mind where he's associating sexual activity with my mother and me, and is obsessed with the notion of having sex with my mother and me at the same time. And this is, again, a perverted demon, a demon-possessed person. That sort of demonic idea, that sick mind state is the same entity that's engaged in gang stalking. This is a perverted spirit that's interested in monitoring you in a bathroom, monitoring your genitalia in a bathroom. The level of surveillance that's underway is entirely of the devil. They're not just interested in what you're doing. Why do you need to be engaged in surveillance in the bathroom? Like, why that? You need to understand that Satan is a stalker. Satan is a spirit, and Satan is an obsessed stalker, creeping everywhere that you go, very much interested in the way that you cross your legs, the way that you put your underwear on in the morning, the way that you are walking. That level of detail, that's monitoring. That's not just stalking, that's monitoring. And that's also a sex offender that's monitoring. That is the Ontario Police. That is Jason Isaac Fields. That is Tracy Banks, who's both a homosexual and a pedophile while she is monitoring her daughter. She's a super, ooper, duper perverted weirdo, okay? And she is spiritually attacking with her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields. And the reason why I'm honing in on that is because I am subject to what is a spiritual attack. So while I am experiencing this indigestion after consuming food that would have been tampered with by this entity, okay, anticipating what it is that I buy to eat based on what I've already bought and where I bought it. And I've documented this before. And then while it's psychopaths deriving pleasure from harm, stalking you on an ongoing basis, sexually obsessed with you, deriving pleasure from monitoring you in sexually perverted ways, like these predators, Tracy Banks, Jason Fields, and the entity, okay? The entity's engaging in what is spiritually attacking. And this celebratory song, it's like an old song, I think by the Gap Band. Outstanding girl, you knock me out. That's like a celebratory song. That's not a song that I'm thinking of or singing. I don't even like that song. This is, again, these are demons that are monitoring me in the spirit, and while they attack me in this way, putting something in my food and then witnessing me experience the effects of it, and then spiritually attacking me in that way. These are demons that are engaging in what is sitting around watching while they inflict harm. This is what Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in, specifically this demon. And this is somebody that is at the same time feigning to be a federal investigator, feigning to be somebody that is providing information to the federal government, feigning to be somebody that is on the side of justice. And no, he's not. And nor was he ever. Having sex with Tracy Banks, gang stalking me with Tracy Banks, stealing from me with Tracy Banks, having sex with Tracy Banks, my mother, behind my back, having sex with men, and not telling me that you're a whole homosexual, acting like you're a heterosexual, and you're engaging in having sex with men for money, paying other people to target me with my money, doing so. This is somebody that is a psychopath. And your sexual activity is also relevant in to identifying mental illness, which is starting from a spirit and manifests, it works itself out in your behavior. And that is also what you will see in the history of both Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields. They are mentally unstable, and it is also manifest in their sexual history. The entities engaging in spiritually attacking through this, again, a song that I'm not even they're monitoring through the use of that song. And this is a demon that is, again, obsessed with harming me, Jason Isaac Fields. This is somebody that is celebrating my indigestion. This is a sex offender monitoring, engaging what is keeping me under surveillance while I'm indisposed in the bathroom, while I am using the restroom. And this is somebody that I would never be nude in front of voluntarily. I would never consent to being in his presence and him seeing my nude body of my own volition. I would never be in his presence in any sort of relationship with him like that, ever. And this is a predator that's not only a sex offender, but is rejoicing while he's spiritually attacking me as a demon who is also a state actor gang stalking me and is still obsessed with what is my demise. Okay, I want to make sure that I expose that, because I'm exposing not only public corruption, the criminal system of gang stalking, which is demonic, but also that spiritual aspect, the invisible demonic feature of what is that pattern of conduct that's coexisting, that psychological feature of the entity that's keeping you under surveillance and gang stalking you. And this is what Jason Isaac Fields is engaged in. This is a maniacal psychopath who is obsessed with my demise. He is obsessed with what is taking my life, and this is because he is demon possessed. And so this demon possession is both affecting him with regard to his obsession with sexual activity with me and my mother. This is a sicko. And also his obsession with seeing me 6 feet under. And that sort of conflicting obsession, you're both obsessed with me, you want to have sex with me, but you also want to kill me. That's the psychopath that is demon possessed. And that's the psychopath, by the way, that is walking around in the state of California gang stalking. And this is, again, wanting to present as normal, everyday society. It's wearing police uniforms and calling itself a police officer. It's maliciously monitoring my vagina by being outside of the building and talking to a suspect or a health check recipient, what they want it to look like on the surface. What it actually looks like on the surface is the fake sun is over me at 12 o'clock in the afternoon at the same venue where it's present over me at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're engaging in what is the malicious pattern of conduct while you're aware of the surface appearance and the substance of the thing, where sex offenders are no longer closeted with regard to engaging in what is criminal activity. The entity is also spiritually attacking, and that's what Jason Isaac Fields specifically is engaging in, and he is obsessed with my demise, and this is informing the federal government that you have an obligation to protect American citizens, as I am exposing the criminal activity that the government in the states are engaging in, but also with regard to an American citizen that is to be protected from terrorists like what Jason Isaac Fields is and represents. This is somebody that is engaged in what is attacking and what is who is obsessed with my demise, while on the surface would like to present as somebody. He's actually a coward. He's just scared to death about going to prison. He's going to prison. He's going to prison. Tracy Banks is going to federal prison, and they are doing so pursuant to what is still criminal activity that they are going to be held accountable for. The city of Ontario that is targeting me is doing so, again, upon the solicitation by these two co-conspirators, these serial killers that have killed other people. They've stolen from other people. They've engaged in setting up other people, which is Tracy Banks and Jason Fields. I am one their witchcraft doesn't work against me. Their criminal conduct against me, this system, I'm exposing what is a greater controversy regarding affecting a whole lot of other people, and what the government is doing throughout the states is I'm exposing this system. The entity is engaging in this, and this is an American citizen's right for a domestic terrorist, a predator, an unhinged and incompetent person like Fields, who wants to both murder and have sex with the same person. This is somebody that is never under the law, avoiding federal prison, if ever in that presence of that American citizen, okay? And this is the unlawful threat that he poses to my life, my safety, and my well-being, having stolen from me in order to what is result in my current economic state. and then defaming my character. And what he's defaming me for is exactly what he is engaging in his lifestyle. He is the male prostitute. He's the one that gets down on all fours and has sex with men for money, has sex for whatever it is that he needs. He will engage in homosexual activity for it. He also engaged in homosexual activity because he enjoys homosexual activity. This is somebody that's engaged in what is a whole farcical existence. He wears a mask, which the demon possessed are doing while they're gang stalking. This is a mask covering society. So I'm describing to you this individual who is of the same spirit that the population that is gang stalking shares. And this is exposing what is closeted mental illness. This demon, Jason Isaac Fields, is representing an unlawful threat that the government shall not permit to exist in my presence. Any property that was stolen, and it was all stolen by Jason Isaac Fields, while he's engaged in what is falsely accusing me of criminal activity, helping Tracy Banks and the entity engage in criminal activity against me, wanting to protect himself, claiming ignorance. Oh, I didn't know this and I wasn't a part of that. And he just doesn't want to go to prison. He's a coward. While he's lying, I want you to know that he's a demon and he is still attacking me spiritually. And he is obsessed with my demise, which is not going to happen. But the reason why he is because he's disingenuous. He is very much fearful of you learning of more criminal conduct for which he is going to federal prison for. This is somebody that wants to engage in getting away with being a predator to women, particularly, and then like a coward that he is, get away with it and run off with that which doesn't belong to him. He is like one of the most disgusting and despicable that I've ever encountered. But again, this is somebody that is not only not an actual friend of mine, he's not an ex, he's not an ex-boyfriend, he's nothing to me. He is nothing other than Tracy Banks' sex partner. He is somebody that my elderly age mother has been having a lot of sex with for years. And that's his own embarrassing testimony. Those are both of the outworking of both of their mental illnesses. This is basically a mother having sex with her son and a son having sex with his mother, and their lifestyles and the things that they have committed is the evidence of how unstable they are. Okay, they both engaged in what is targeting me, and I'm prosecuting them for it. And I'm also going to expose their mental illness while they're spiritually attacking, engaging in what is witchcraft. And I want to be clear, while he's engaging in that which he thinks you're not going to know about, you need to understand his duplicitous character. This is somebody that wants to harm me, and he's already engaged in that which you're aware of, but he is very much interested in my demise while I am still being targeted by the state, while there is no legitimate investigation, while that is remaining underway. The entities engaging in this, and this is something that Jason Isaac Fields remains and Tracy Banks remain interested in, poisoning me, hoping that I just drop dead, so that you don't hear any more of the criminal activity that they are very fearful of and nervous being exposed. And it's still going to come out. And it's also going to come out that they are Satan worshiping demons, all right, who are engaging in acts of desperation, which is going to have them in federal prison for a very long time. I want to make sure that that is known and understood. Jason Isaac Fields is never, ever to be in my presence. Any property that he has stolen from me, the government is the one that maintains a responsibility to retrieve that property. And the government is the one that reconciles that property that I have been dispossessed of. It is under no circumstances ever requiring Jason Fields to be in my presence. That is Tracy Banks' sex partner. That is Tracy Banks' husband, kingdom spouse. That is Tracy Banks' co-conspirator, Tracy Banks' man. You can have that homosexual. You can have him and his HIV infected. And I don't want that. I want nothing to do with it. I want him in prison where he belongs. This is somebody that's engaged in targeting me for years and is obsessed with my demise and is still targeting me to date, including while the Ontario Police Department are obsessively stalking me in the bathroom. This is a sex offender who has been long overdue with being publicly identified as such, who has been lying on my name while being obsessed with me the whole time, stalking me the whole time, literally wanting to be me. And this is a male. I'm not going to call him a man. This is a male who wants to be a woman. And this is why you do things like get down on all fours and have sex with other men. I'm not sure, but the level of depravity, the level of incompetence, it's extraordinary. It is extraordinary. And it is illustrated, by the way, in the pattern of conduct. This whole stalking under a fake sun, you know where the fake sun's going to be when I walk back outside at 4 and 5 o'clock? The same location, which is how you know that band of demons We're monitoring. And you pull up in fire trucks and ambulances and you're monitoring. The entity is under no circumstances engaging in any sort of chicanery that nobody else can identify. You all see it. And this is the mental illness that is harbored inside of the minds of all of the demons that are engaging in gang stalking the entire state of California. And specifically the predators, Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, those two demons in particular. They like to have a lot of perverted sex acts with each other while they obsess over me in the spirit, and while they engage in what is enticing other people to target me. And all they've done is created a large pool of defendants, because you're going to prison, especially as you've defamed my character and you are of this condition, engaging in this criminal conduct. You're going to prison and you will be subject to routine mental examinations for actual mental illness that you projected onto me. Not only am I pristine in my mind state, I will detail your mental illness, and I will detail the ways in which you try to project that onto other people while you engage in all manner of demented behaviors, which corruption is necessarily required in order to and even engage in that sort of unjust and tragic means of criminally defaming another person, which is absurd. It's absurd. It is absurd. Okay, but like I stated before, the entity that's engaging in gang stalking, you can't necessarily prosecute. For Jason Isaac Fields engaging in what is his demonic practices, he's engaging in witchcraft, he's spiritually attacking me, he's monitoring me in the spirit, celebrating with songs while he's obsessively being a sex offender, monitoring me in the spirit while I'm in a bathroom. He's a sex offender, by the way. While he's monitoring me in the bathroom and he's celebrating about indigestion, while he's very much aware of the fact that my food has been poisoned, just sitting back like a maniacal psychopath, like a serial killer, waiting to see how it affects me. All right, this is somebody that is, again, while you cannot prosecute for that, I have proven the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring, and that is also demonic. Okay, but I've proven that which is demonic, that which is the creation of a massive illusion, and I've shown you with physical evidence. There's the illusion there, there's the illusion there, there's the illusion there. This is the criminal pattern of conduct where they're engaging, relying upon illusions, relying upon, in other words, trying to trick your mind. And you are also cognizant of that objective, trying to trick your mind, and you are no longer under that web of deceit. With knowledge of the pattern of conduct, I'm also letting you know that Jason Isaac Fields remains one interested in my demise. He is still targeting me. He is spiritually attacking. This is relevant to the incalculable harms associated with gang stalking. He is also engaged in what is spiritually attacking, which is, again, just exacerbating the harms. I'm always advocating on behalf of the ordinary target individual. Jason Isaac Fields serves Satan. Christ Jesus is on the throne. Darkness bows to him. There's nothing that you're going to do that's... The reason why it's not working against me is so that you can hear the truth about what Satan is up to. And Satan is fully controlling the fully disintegrated mind of Jason Isaac Fields. He is not well, and neither is his sex partner, Tracy Banks. All right, and he's engaged in still attacking me in the spirit in a way in which he surmises that the federal government doesn't know about. While he's outwardly conducting himself one way to you, he is counting on and praying to Satan and hoping that something tragic, something horrible happens to me so that I'm not around in a case, which is not going to happen. I will be testifying in court. I will be pressing every single last charge against him, and he's going to federal prison. I'm letting you know right now how this is going to end. And I stated it before. All right, and the entity that's engaging in what is the spiritual attack is the entity that's engaging in what is gang stalking. And this is what is informing, because you cannot necessarily prosecute for what is equally dangerous and violent: the use of witchcraft to take somebody's life, the use of witchcraft to inflict psychological harm and torment, as you try to attack them and then gang stalk them and try to bring them into a state of creating the illusion of mental illness. This is ways in which the entity is literally trying to annihilate human beings. It's very sick. With that in mind, that which you cannot prove with regard to this practice of witchcraft that Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in, this is something that is informing federal law regarding that which you can prove, however. Domestic terrorism via federal group stalking and monitoring, psychological torture, gang stalking. And this is what is informing that intense federal law, that intense federal prosecution, based on knowledge about that which you cannot necessarily prosecute for, that it is built on, and it is, the impetus is this ongoing system of ceaseless witchcraft, voodoo, black magic, which is real, and it's also something not to fear, but it's just something to be aware of, and it's something that the ordinary target individual is being attacked with unbeknownst to them. All right. So I did want to be clear on that. Jason Isaac Fields is delusional. This is a homosexual man that's engaged in a prolonged sexual relationship. While he's been lying about the course of a non-existent relationship with me, I would never be with him, and I will not have anything to do with him. And this is somebody that is engaging in spiritually attacking as though he's going to kidnap me. He's going to force me to talk to him. He's going to force me to give money to him or give property to him, to force me to not prosecute him, this is a psychopath. He's a psychopath. He's going to federal prison, and the federal government, you are going to put him in federal prison because this is somebody that is that unhinged with regard to trying to inflict harm, both psychologically and also with regard to wanting to physically take my life so that he could have my money and my property. This is a lowlife he comes from nothing, trash. He comes from nothing, and he has achieved nothing in his life, and he thinks that he's going to go around murdering people and stealing and defaming them and getting away with it by virtue of his position in government, which he's not even qualified to maintain. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just being brutally honest, because this is somebody that bullies other people, and I have no respect for that. And you are also not a man in doing that. You're also not a man while you're spiritually attacking somebody that is calling you out in front of the world. And you're also going to be federally prosecuted in front of the world. And Satan himself is laughing at you. While you've embarrassed yourself, you've embarrassed whoever is related to you, which I'm sure they don't want a voice. And you will never have anything actually to do with me. Anybody that is, I've stated it before, anybody that has anything to do with Jason Isaac Fields, there will be no future endeavors with me, professionally or personally. Anybody that's engaged in gang stalking me, you already know you're going to federal prison. If I already know your name and you're going to prison in the first place. But not only that, this is somebody that is delusional, spiritually attacking, and this is somebody that thinks that there's some sort of psychological arm wrestle going on, and your witchcraft is going to work. And no, this is somebody who's very highly, his brain has been eaten up by all the voodoo that he's been practicing, all the sex rituals that he's been engaged in. And this is why you're walking around with HIV. You're physically sick and you're mentally sick, and you're going to prison. And there is in real life never going to be anything that's going to exist between myself and somebody that had sex repeatedly for years with my elderly aged mother, who is obsessed with my vagina. Okay, you and her are mentally ill, and that's why you two are a match made in hell, having sex with each other for years, having sex with a pedophile. There is nothing intellectually, spiritually, physically, mentally that is even aligned with the likes of a predator, of a terrorist, of a psychopath like Jason Isaac Fields. All right, and it is my pleasure to expose corrupt actors and serial killers, like this state actor, Jason Fields, who was never competent enough to be in government and is somebody that needs to be restrained in a padded room where he cannot harm anyone else. All right, it is currently 1:54 p.m. This is documentation of bathroom monitoring. And it starts while the entity is engaging in what is tampering with food. And why are they doing that? The entity that is gang stalking. And this is, again, a basis for recovery. Because the entity that's engaged in gang stalking me, the entity that's engaged in what is targeting me, there is no investigation. There was never a legitimate investigation. This is property that belonged to me from the beginning. This is, again, property that was stolen from me by Jason Fields and Tracy Banks, who then, with the government, okay, the corruption of the government, that stole from me as well. And then the entity engaged in what is defaming my character to try to tap dance out of why you stole my property and money in the first place. And then you're engaging in investigating. You're investigating me based on defamation after you've already committed the crime. This is supposed to be a distraction. There was never any legitimate investigation. This is an ongoing stall. This is an unjust delay. While I'm engaged in ongoing documentation, speaking to all the ways in which I am going to recover, and thieves, murderers like Jason Fields, sex offenders like Tracy Banks, they're going to prison for it, and there was never any legitimate investigation in the first place. You engaged in criminal activity, and then you engaged in criminal activity and calling it an investigation of what were a criminal act in the first place, defaming my character in court hearings that I had no part in regarding property that you had no business having any knowledge or possession of. especially this sex offender, Jason Fields. He literally is irrelevant. He is only engaged in this case in the first place because he's been, Tracy Banks has been sitting on his genitalia. So because she's having sex with him, that has no reason why if he's engaged in any sort of possession of property that belongs to me, he's handing over that property and he's going straight to federal prison. All right, the entity's engaging in this, and this is relevant to what are ongoing harms incalculable in nature, while there was never any legitimate investigation in the first place. And this is shared by that which third parties like YouTube are financially interested in, engaging in what is targeting me on the venue of the internet, defaming my character while trying to render evidence illegitimate, while also profiting from my intellectual property, which YouTube is directly engaged in. There is no legitimate investigation by the biased actor that is engaged in what is the undue delay in justice, especially when it is rooted in defamation that this same entity that is targeting me committed, when the bottom line is I should have been given my property I should have been given my property at the outset. So this is remaining what is criminal conduct to date. It's ongoing criminal activity. And it does not convert to any sort of legitimate act by the government. And claiming that other people are benefiting from it, that's fine and dandy. It remains a criminal act committed against me by the government. And you did so with Tracy Banks, with this psychopath, Jason Fields, who is to date targeting me by provision by the government that is still engaging in criminal activity against Erica Lorraine Spencer. Harms that I am still suffering, inflicted by the government that never had any right to violate my privacy, never had any right, because that's what it is while you're gang stalking and calling it an investigation. There's no investigation while you're flying in circles over me all day long and then trying to both defame my character for it and also claim that you're engaged in an investigation regarding allegations about mental illness that Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields provided in a court hearing that I wasn't a part of. This is the entity that's engaged in all manner of corruption. While, by the way, Jason Fields is very much interested in poisoning me. Jason Isaac Fields is very much interested in spiritually attacking while claiming to be engaged in an investigation. No, he is not. No, the entity is not. And they failed in every regard. He is going to federal prison, and he is not actually in any position to have any sort of association with me. But this is a demon that thinks that witchcraft is going to help him heal from HIV, and it's not. He thinks that engaging what is spiritually attacking me is going to help him avoid federal prison, and it is not. He received what is a diagnosis of HIV while he was defaming my character for being a prostitute, and he's the male prostitute. He's received the diagnosis of HIV while he's engaged in what is the multiplicity of sex partners of both genders, while claiming that I am a promiscuous whore, and I've never been. In fact, it's him and his sex partner, Tracy Banks. They infected each other. And those are facts, okay? The entities engaging in what is criminal activity at the outset, they are both going to prison. They will never be in my presence, and the federal government owes what is a responsibility to keep such terrorists from ever being in my presence and you holding over property that is to be returned to me. All right, this is the P.O.C, and I want to make sure and publicly expose that because this is the entity that engages in such tactics against American citizens while you're subject to what is criminal activity and also spiritual warfare. And it's supposed to inundate you, overwhelm you, and also to cause you to have basically a psychological breakdown and cause you to question whether you want to live or not. That's against getting to suicidal ideation. And then the entity engages in taking your life and claiming that you were mentally ill. This is the purpose for all of that. This is what Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in. And it's, again, this is somebody that's mentally, he's gone. He tries to present as being well, he's not. And this is the truth I'm letting you know. I don't have to look at him. I don't have to be in his presence. I also don't have to be in his presence to prosecute him for gang stalking me and for stealing that which belongs to me and for defaming my character in doing so. This is a terrorist who's going away, and he's going away for a while. And he's not going to be in my presence, contrary to how this demon is still monitoring. He's spiritually attacking while he's still engaging in criminal activity, which is under no circumstances supported or reduced by claiming an investigation has been underway of my character. It was criminal activity, and I was defamed in court, and that was a criminal act committed by the government. And this is the entity that's engaging in surveillance. This is P.O.C. It is currently 2 p.m. on Saturday, September 6, 2025. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 2:12 p.m. So this is documentation, and I just want to conclude with the bottom line regarding what the government has committed against me, as I'm documenting the pattern of conduct that even my family and they're not really my friends, but just for purposes of you understanding the meaning of the words that I'm using, that even my family and friends are engaging against me. This is relevant to what is an inhumane experiment on a human being that the government is engaging in, including things such as tampering with your food, targeting you through everyone that you know, which is a means of isolation, psychologically torturing you while engaging in what is a satanic means of targeting, stalking you obsessively. This is what an entity, a government is doing as a means of an inhumane experiment for which it is going to recover. I'm exposing it, I'm going to prosecute for it, and I'm also exposing it at the same time. But this is relevant to what is just the practical reasoning and explanation for it. Oh, it's because of money, it's because of money that belonged to her, and this is why there were. That is relevant to what are the immediate details regarding what happened in my particular circumstance. This is what the government is doing: inhumane experimentation upon human beings, their minds, their bodies, and the ways in which they are reacting and what happens to them as a result. And it's very sick. It is of Satan to do this to human beings, and this is relevant to the entirely illegitimate conduct of the government, state and federal. And this is the basis of that prosecution. It is a means of terrorism by the government, and it is that which is committed in concert with the people of the state. It is that which the entity is incentivized to engage in, money, okay? Particular disdain for a person for whatever reason, envy, etc. But this is an inhumane experiment that the government is engaging in this country, in our food, in our lives, affecting you in one way or another, psychologically targeting you, and then watching you to see how you respond to it. This is what the government, the federal government, this is what Jason Isaac Fields, this is what the entity is engaging in, and I'm going to prosecute for that. You are going to federal prison for engaging in it. Human beings are not science experiments, and this is understanding what is the agenda of the demon-possessed. They engage in these things, and they also profit from it. They make a lot of money off of it, and they even share it amongst one another, engage in making and creating and innovating while they experiment upon human beings like they're rabbits. You know, like you create consumer products and you test them on rabbits. This is what the entity is doing, a corrupt government is doing on American citizens, and this is what the government is doing to me. And it is under all circumstances unlawful to poison my food just to confirm that you think that I'm somebody and something that can withstand it and nothing's going. I'm going to prosecute for that. And the entity is going to federal prison as I'm exposing what is under all circumstances inhumane. Okay, that's all, again, getting to that same spirit. It's a demonic spirit. And the entity has also, relevant, is that the entity has also engaged in stealing from me and defaming me and trying to frame me for criminal activity that I never committed, stealing my identity, stealing my property, personal, real, and intellectual, and doing so while violating me incessantly, ceaselessly. Okay, this is a part of that experiment for reasons that do include monetary gain. And I'm going to recover for that, and it is necessary to expose it. It is the work of Satan, and it is that which is shared by the government, which is exposing the people of the state as not private citizens. They are vicarious actors of this public entity that is targeting American citizens who are under surveillance in the U.S. Okay, this is relevant to the system that Jason Isaac Fields is a part of, that the government is, again, aiding Tracy Banks, that's engaging in targeting her own daughter, making money from targeting her own daughter, and was, again, incentivized to engage in what is murdering her own daughter under the guise of making money for it. And she did not hesitate, doesn't hesitate, couldn't care less. So this is exposing the inhumanity behind that system and the inhumanity behind the sexual violence, the inhumanity behind the group conduct. And this is not a group of 6 or 7 people, this is a group of thousands and millions of people. I'm documenting the pattern of conduct since 2018. technically 2017, while I was being gang stalked at Sunrise Church in Rialto, California, which I documented in October of 2017 in that church meeting with third-party Gregory Hooper, a demon-possessed fake Christian at a fake church that kept the fake sun over that venue in Rialto, California. Okay, the entity's engaging in this, and that's speaking to millions and millions of people that are targeting. It is a statewide system, and the demon-possessed make up a whole population that do not want to be known, but they're known now, and also their criminal monitoring conduct. It's demonic, and it's a whole system that the government is operating, and it is the product of what I'm exposing, inhumane experimentation on American citizens. And this is what the entity is engaging in and committing against me, and this is the basis for that prosecution. The government is also a liar, and will give you other distracting narratives. Oh, anything but being demons. Don't talk about Satan. Just say, we stole, we were just, stalking because, one of the third parties are obsessed with her, and, they were paid, and that's why they were doing that. Anything but what is the substantive issue. These are demons. This is demonic. And it is government conduct, and it's relevant to what is an agenda to conduct satanic and inhumane, in other words, experimentations on human beings, and the entity tends to profit off of it, especially in the United States. All right, it is not unique to the United States, but this is what the federal government is engaging in, and this is what the federal government is engaging in while calling it an investigation, while stating, or claiming, or presenting as though they have an intention to interfere. And the entity has been sitting back and experimenting while the Ontario police gang stalk by helicopter, while the people of the state gang stalk and terrorize with impossible light, while the entity tampers with my food and then sees how my body responds to it. As I document, what they're witnessing, though, is that I'm documenting in order to prosecute. And so the rationale behind the whole system is ineffective when you are being documented and prosecuted. And this is resulting in what is also an inevitable exposure. But this is, again, these are demons. Jason Isaac Fields is a demon. Tracy Banks is a demon. The entity that has defamed my character, that is engaged in gang stalking, everybody that's working at the library, everybody that's on the freeway, everybody that's employed by the Ontario Police Department, everybody that you're seeing in my content, they're all demons. This is entirely demonic, and it is proven through a maintenance of a fake sun, which is isolating me amongst all of the rest of them. Okay, and this is the entity that engages in inhumane experimentation in doing so. And so I just wanted to make sure that that is clear, because I said a lot of words, and I just want to make sure that I wrap that up with regard to the inhumanity regarding the experimentation of the government on an American citizen, for which I will be prosecuting, and it is a basis for federal law regarding terrorism in the United States, domestic terrorism that is committed by the government. This is also relevant, again, to the terrorists like Jason Isaac Fields who don't have any position under the law. So this is under the law with regard to making sure that the law protects American citizens from predators like that, like what he represents, spiritually attacking, physically attacking, socially attacking, economically, in every way. And this is somebody that is engaging in that while, again, engaging in conduct as though they're going to force, and that's exactly what the federal government is going to keep a psychopath like Jason Isaac Fields from doing. So this is somebody that is spiritually attacking. He is threatening to engage in kidnapping. He's threatening to engage in rape. He's threatening to engage in what is theft. Like he's going to, against my will, force something, and he's going into a cell. This is, again, somebody that's delusional, somebody that's engaged in sexual activity with my mother for years and is going to then force me to have any sort of association. This is, again, delusional, and the public needs to know that, and that's why I'm openly exposing this demon and this criminal who is sexually associated and bound to his wife, the elderly woman that he has sex with. Okay, he lifts up her wrinkles to find her genitalia and engages in sexual activity with her and boys. Okay, it is 2:21 p.m. and that's the reality. It will never ever happen. And this is somebody that is engaged in ongoing threatening activity while maintaining this inhumane experimentation with the government, for which I am going to recover, including while a psychopath like Jason Isaac Fields, which the government has incentivized to target me. I'm going to recover for that. There was never any legitimacy, no lawfulness by the state at any point, ever. This is P.O.C. It's 2:22 p.m. activity creation. And that is, again, Ontario Police that's engaging in the sex offense. That's a casada and the two sex offenders under the fake sun that's still over this venue where homosexuals engage in what is coming into the restroom, in concert with sex offenders that stalk in the path with the male restroom surrounding and maintaining activity. While you're engaging in mentally ill behavior such as stalking in a bathroom stall, this is the entity that's engaging in gang stalking in the private space on behalf of the sex offenders of the Ontario Police Department. Okay, who are in a matter of a term of years engaged in what is monitoring my vagina in the bathroom of the OVITT Family Community Library, as I've shown it every hour of the day under the fake sun as of 2018, 2019. All right, this is P.O.C, and that is, again, the homosexual women that are engaged in the sex offensive gang stalking as the entities engaged in that pattern of conduct. And this is sexual violence that Tracy Banks engages in. My mother that's engaged in monitoring my vagina. Again, incestuous, homosexual in nature, very demented. Also demented while you're in a bathroom intending to stalk somebody else. Monitor their genitalia while you are, again, presupposing that that person doesn't know that they're subject to that sexual violence. And this is what a police department is interested in, and it's an entirely illegitimate government interest. This is what the sex offender, Jason Isaac Fields, is keeping under surveillance, my vagina. He is a sex offender, and this is somebody that's been conspiring my murder while keeping my vagina under surveillance as well, while he's engaged in an intense sexual relationship with my mother, with whom this is, again, a pervert that's obsessed with both a sexual relationship that's never going to happen and has never been the case, and it's also somebody that simultaneously is obsessed with the notion of my demise. Again, this is, again, relevant to the entity. It's 5:57 p.m. The fake sun is over the OVITT Family Community Library. I will get that as I exit the same entrance where the fake sun was over my head during the 12 p.m. hour, and at 9:59 where that same fire department gang stalking with that same police department at that same entrance of this library, where stalking, monitoring in a bathroom, a sex offense at a so-called family, so-called community venue where nothing but sexual violence is underway of the most demented nature. P.O.C, that's federal stalking in a bathroom. All right, you will see the fake sun upon my exit at 6:03 p.m. The fake sun, you can see the same entrance at 215 East C Street. The fake sun is blazing next to the same parking garage that it's over my head while I'm inside of that parking garage at 10:13 in the morning. While I am capturing the fake sun over my head at this same venue, I'm walking in 959 Ontario Fire, demonstrating demon possession by both presence under that fake sun activity creation and impossible light activity on the ground. And remember, if I was at the entrance area and the demon driving that Ontario Fire Department vehicle were driving in that turn circle, they would have aimed that engineer light into the air, would have flown into the air to move across the building. The entity has the engineer light on the ground while I'm up close, capturing this white male who was demon possessed, turning on the fire department, turning on the lights of that fire truck for no reason. It's criminal summoning. The reason is they're engaging in what is a show of hostility as a demon engages in light activity, as you're translating the significance of everything happening in the engineered environment for purposes of monitoring. 9JKT171 is a sex offender monitoring my vagina with the thousands of people that shared in that sex offense committed inside of the OVITT Family Community Library under the 6:02 p.m. fake sun. And again, so 9:59 a.m., 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 8 hours later, and the fake sun is outside of the same entrance where you saw criminal summoning with the sex offenders who engage in monitoring my vagina, one of them sitting on the curb talking to the sex offenders of the Ontario Police. Those were sex offenders engaging in criminal summoning together. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct. Sexual violence is underway while they also molest you with light that is supernaturally occurring for the criminal purpose of monitoring you. The entity that is monitoring is a violent sex offense, keeping all of your genitalia under surveillance, keeping the genitalia of your children under surveillance, while they are engaging in what is trying to maintain a criminal surveillance system. And I want to be clear, this is the entity that is the government acting with the people of the state, who are families full of sex offenders. 9REZ431, a sex offender monitoring my vagina, stalking in the path, driving at the C Street turn circle under the fake sun as a population is keeping me under surveillance at this same venue, okay? The fake sun's in the same position it is in the morning when I'm coming from Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, walking south down Euclid Avenue to come to this venue, and the fake sun is in the same position along what is C Street. The fake sun's in the same position it is when I am capturing the Ontario police claiming to be engaged in what is the P.O.C. via police training, 9EBY 796, demons monitoring my vagina. All they're doing is going in circles. This is a ritual. This is a massive sex act committed by the demon-possessed who are engaging in egregious sexual violence that you know nothing about, and I'm prosecuting for it, and I'm also exposing it. And it is the entity that's engaging in what is criminal surveillance, and that criminal surveillance is also sexually motivated, sexually predatory and demented behavior. MUSIOQR, I believe. This is the entity that they're not only are they driving under the fake sun that's at the same entrance, which is again where A. Casada, she's going to federal prison. The fake sun is along the same Euclid Avenue where she committed kidnapping on July 4, 2025, and she did so with the people of the state that are pacing under that fake sun right now. Ocean represents that entity, working at the facilitating venue on Euclid Avenue. Starbucks, that is monitoring American citizens and monitoring American citizens' genitalia. And Ocean and Starbucks are violent and hostile third parties who commit acts of obstruction of justice, kidnapping you and harassing and terrorizing you as you document it. As I'm exposing the corruption of Starbucks and the domestic enemy that Starbucks is, keeping American citizens under surveillance and then kidnapping them. Because what I'm documenting and what I'm exposing is what American citizens are subject to in this country, and many of them are either 6 feet under, or they're kidnapped somewhere, or they're just suffering in silence, okay? The entity's maintaining a psychopathic pattern of conduct. This is mental illness that's no longer closeted while they're all stalking me. And the presence of that specific environment is the proof that they are all stalking me and that I am the focal point. Okay, sunlight is not reaching backwards behind your car, on the ground beside your car, in front of your car, while you are driving under the sun. The sun is not remaining over one building, in front of one building, to the side of one building for 12 hours, 8 hours, 3 hours in the day. The sun is never reaching Florida, while the state of California in Ontario along Euclid Avenue is keeping a fake sun rising and setting over me. And this is the mentally ill population that does give birth to children that they have sex with, that they sacrifice and permit other people to have sex with, that they engage in violating each other's children while they also are violating them while they are engaged in the pattern of conduct. This is a demon-possessed population that practices sexual violence. They are obsessed with the genitalia of that targeted individual. They maintain a pattern of conduct that is sexually motivated while they practice psychological torture before committing murder that is committed as an entity. All right, this is the entity that is gang stalking on behalf of Jason Isaac Fields, who's going to federal prison. He is a maniacal psychopath, a violent sex offender, keeping my vagina under surveillance while homosexual women stalk in the bathroom stalls to do so on behalf of the Ontario police that are obsessed with my vagina, monitoring me in every bathroom in the city of Ontario, doing so with a population of psychopaths who engage in what is stalking with impossible light while they're engaging in surveillance and a program of psychological torture, which is revealing, ironically, their mental illness. The mental illness born of a population that's engaging in gang stalking is the mental illness that is relevant to the murders that this entity commits. Okay, these are not murders that are committed ignorantly while the police are engaged in the pattern of conduct. These are not murders and harms that are suffered by American citizens that the police are investigating. These are murders that are committed as a corrupt government body that engages in psychological torture tactics, sexual violence, and monitoring, including stalking with light, stalking under a fake sun, egregious and violent and demented acts such as stalking in bathrooms. And that is what is directly tied to the fake sun over my head at 9:59 a.m. at 215 E.C. Street. At what is, let's see, also at 12:13 p.m. at 215 E.C. Street. And as I exit at 6:02 p.m. at 215 E.C. Street, driving in impossible light and driving under the fake sun to monitor me, and further into the conspiracy to commit murder. License 9KSG631, a homosexual woman in the passenger seat, and her gang stalking husband, and they're both sexually obsessed with my vagina while they're criminally monitoring and further into the conspiracy to commit murder. And these are demons that don't have criminal records. These are serial killers. They target as an entity. They do so with a corrupt police department that is being disbanded.
And this is mental illness that is exposed while they're engaging in what is pacing. All right, and that's what I'm capturing right now. One demon after another, driving under the fake sun, monitoring someone that is documenting it simultaneously. These are, again, this is the maniacal psychopath that is stalking, that is engaging what is conspiring your murder right in your face. 9MH. I can't really see the rest of that one. 0911. That's what that license plate looks like. But I'm showing you what is the fake sun outside of the same entrance, and all they're doing is pacing. They're not going anywhere as a population while that crime scene remains, and then you're just maintaining presence. That's the illusion. And that illusion is highly unintelligent. And this is where the entities gang stalking me in helicopter day in and day out, and doing so pursuant to criminal summoning like a casada, kidnapping on July 4, 2025 with this population, 9MIN. 944, stalked with a possible light, just like the Ontario Fire Department, has minor children in the back seat. All right, engaging what is stalking and monitoring and terrorizing a woman while in custody of children, engaging in the psychopathic behavior of stalking with light, conspiring the murder of another while in custody of children, and this is a male operating that vehicle, keeping a vagina of another woman under surveillance while in custody of children, and this is the entity that engages in this as family units, engaging in criminal surveillance. This surveillance system that's underway, it's public corruption. All right, this is speaking to the disbanding of the Ontario Police and federal prison for the demons under the fake sun, engaging in criminal summoning with AMR and Ontario Fire at 12 in the afternoon, and you're looking at them gang stalking and engaging in what is criminal summoning. The entity is engaging in what is public corruption, and they rely on these demons who are stalking in the path. This is what was sitting on the curb, engaging in criminal summoning with the Ontario Fire. Demon stalking under a fake sun and with impossible light. 8LJN 912, while the Ontario Police are stalking in an Ontario Police vehicle, you'll see that, and the fake sun is in perfect alignment with the same entrance, okay? This is the entity that is indeed engaging what is teamwork. While I'm inside of the bathroom, if there's a homosexual female, and the reason why I'm pointing these details out is because the illusion with regard to the criminal pattern of conduct is relevant to the illusion regarding the masks that psychopaths wear. The way that they live their lives is not, and the way that they are presenting themselves is not necessarily what they are and how they actually live, and what is actually the status of their mind. The demons that are engaging in the pattern of conduct are mentally ill, and they present as a population that which is supposed to be creating the illusion of sanity, of law-abiding citizens. You don't have a criminal record, thus you're not a criminal. You don't have a record of violating children or being a sex offender, thus you're not a threat. You have a clean criminal record, thus I can get this job, you're qualified here, you don't present a threat. They're all engaged in targeting American citizens together, assassinating them, executing them, psychologically torturing them, and you're engaging in that as a psychopath. Okay, so this is, again, a lot of illusions, propaganda in this country regarding mental illness, and also regarding criminal activity, and the demon-possessed are the ones that are responsible for the crime rates. And that includes the corrupt law enforcement agencies. They are a part of what is the crime rates and what is the status of criminal activity, especially while they're engaging in criminal surveillance, and they are incentivizing criminal conduct with a population that they then want you to think that they are maintaining order, law and order, while they are actually sharing in criminal conduct, keeping themselves employed, playing cops and robbers. That was mental illness that you witnessed at its finest under a fake sun, engaging in a conversation with the people of the state, monitoring my vagina under a fake sun, and a whole illusion surrounding them. And I'm documenting that illusion because they're all going to federal prison. And the entity is doing so while then pulling out an ambulance and a fire truck, putting the people of the state on that bed, on a gurney, and putting them in an ambulance. And that was the elements of monitoring. Those are demons engaging in that. And hours later, 6 to be exact, is where that fake sun is still present. Okay, and the fake sun that's at 6 p.m. is in the same position it is on July 14th, 2025, where I'm documenting the Ontario Police on video and in images at 303 North Euclid Avenue, which is where the fake sun is right now. It's present at 7 in the morning, and that's where the fake sun is when it's a quote-unquote sunrise at this same turn circle and a sunset at this same turn circle. And that is looking at the big picture where the demon-possessed are stalking under the fake sun, and it includes the demon-possessed Ontario Police who are obsessed with my vagina. Sex offenders, also those of the homosexual orientation, women that would like, many of them are homosexuals openly, but you also need to know that they're homosexuals while they're keeping another woman's vagina under surveillance. And I am not into women, and I also don't consent to surveillance, and I also don't consent to those homosexuals of the Ontario Police keeping my genitalia under surveillance. But the reason why it's a problem is because they're violating the Constitution while they're wearing police uniforms doing that. That's what a Casada is doing. And big picture, she's under the fake sun on July 4, 2025 at 7 in the morning. This is the same Euclid Avenue where her mental illness is put at the forefront, speaking to that agency altogether that's engaging in egregious and psychopathic and sexually motivated criminal conduct as psychopaths that you will see in the images right now. 7PLF 687, engaging in targeting with the Ontario Police doing the bidding of that agency. A psychopath stalking with engineer-like dragging all across the red curb, stalking under the fake sun. That's in the same position it is as a matter of reference of the to-be disbanded agency, Ontario Police, putting up a sign calling gang stalking police training, and the fake sun is over at 7:15 in the morning while I am showing you the same C Street. Okay, from the entrance looking at C Street, from 303 North Euclid Avenue looking at C Street, the fake sunrise and sunset. That's also posted for your viewing pleasure to witness the mental illness and the public corruption and those to be federally imprisoned with regard to the kidnappers of 2025 of that same agency. This illusion where they're engaging in stalking, thus kidnapping, is relevant to those that are engaging in domestic terrorism, and they shall be both disbanded and put in federal prison. I want to be clear, the entity engages in this conduct. Pay attention to what I published today on YouTube. The entity is so psychopathic, they think that they're engaging in what is some sort of, in their sick minds, they actually are satisfied when they're engaging in what is documented acts of sexual violence, which is gang stalking, in the bathroom. And the entity is doing so pursuant to Title 18 federal stalking, surveillance of everything that is being published about this entity that is a violent sex offender. And the entity is doing so while you are looking at the fake sun in 2022 after 3 p.m., which would be, again, before daylight savings time, so that would be 4 p.m. Equally impossible for a Casada and her two sex offending partners to be under the fake sun at this same library at 12:13 in the afternoon. Any way you want to flip that, it is identifying a pattern of conduct that the Ontario Police are engaging in for a term of years, repeatedly engaging in kidnapping like a Casada committed in 2025. She is going to federal prison, okay? Now, maybe she will be comfortable amongst a lot of other homosexual women, but she's going to federal prison for engaging in kidnapping in July of 2025 under the fake sun that you will also see at the OVITT Family Community Library on January 22nd, 2022, which is evidence that I'm publishing, where these demons, including 9REZ431, are specifically and intentionally and ceaselessly engaging in psychological torture, harassment, terrorism, and monitoring my vagina as a public act. This is a society that engages in regular sexual violence. And these demons are doing so with their kids in tow. They're doing so with the police. They're doing so with the fire department and ambulances who think pulling out fire trucks and ambulance and gurneys is going to make it look like to you when you're, clearly necessarily disregarding everything else. 9LKK048, that looks legitimate and it doesn't. Nobody forgot about that impossible light adjacent to that Ontario Fire Department vehicle this morning. Nobody forgot that. When they pulled up to the same entrance 3 hours later and that fake sun is still over me at that same entrance. Those are the sex offenders that are engaging in what is obsession with my vagina. That's why they're keeping it under surveillance. And a Casada and her two sex offending partners that are hiding behind badges that they're going to be stripped from are going to prison for it. Okay, the entities engaging in this while they are incentivizing and engaging in sharing criminal conduct with EF15S91, a paper plate, and a population of criminals that are engaging in domestic terrorism in the United States. It is gang stalking, properly referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring. License plate 8HWK904, a sex offender engaging in sexual violence with the Ontario Police who encourages it. Okay, license plate 1591701. This is the Ontario Police that's monitoring with every demon that I'm documenting, crossing path and engineer light, doing so while leaving their vehicles. This is what they did when I came from the 1841 East Ramada. I arrived in the afternoon and the demons left their vehicles in front of the entrance while the entity engaged in what is covering. Let me get this fake sun right here that's moving as I move. License plate 1680787. These are demons that are again under the fake sun. Goldfinger, I believe is his name. He's gang stalking after 6 p.m. at the Ontario Town Square under the fake sun. That's federal prison. Their partner, a white male, gang stalking on this same street at 4 p.m. under this fake sun outside of the OVITT Family Community Library. That's federal prison. The Ontario Police are gang stalking in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder because the corrupt entity presupposed that you would never be aware of the fact that they're engaged in actual surveillance, not law enforcement. They're stalkers, not police officers. And that also when they say that somebody commits a crime, that you're going to take their word for it and totally disregard what is supposed to be the criminally defamed targeted individual. Are in fact maintaining the illusion of mental illness in order to immediately disregard any claims of a targeted individual. And the entity is engaging in not only criminal monitoring as corrupt police officers, as an entire agency, but they're engaging in that in furtherance of murder. And they do so with real-time knowledge of all of the evidence, speaking to what is an enhanced and exacerbated threat to the life of an American citizen, to their well-being, to their safety, especially while you have a documented pattern of kidnapping, and also making up information about purported crimes committed by the targeted individual when you're stalking and you engage in kidnapping, and then you make up criminal acts that the target individual is supposedly engaged in while you are engaging in this P.O.C. This is what Tracy Banks shares in. We've got another demon parking in engineer light. So I want you to see that. This is engineer light on the side of the vehicle. Here's the fake sun along the driver's side. This is, again, in the evening. This is where the fake sun is in the morning when I'm at the Ontario Town Square right here. And this is engineer light. This is a demon. So he's monitoring. Let me show you. This is a demon. And this is me looking at my shadow right here. And that's you looking at the fake sun. I'm facing it. That's supposed to create a shadow behind you. This is impossible light while they're engaged in what is criminal summoning with the 280 North Lemon Apartments, which I'm documenting early in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening, just like they were under the fake sun right here at the OVITT Family Community Library, where the sun hasn't gone anywhere, and it certainly isn't in the state of Florida. That's a demon. Those are demons representing county-issued vehicles that are used for criminal activity. And doing so with the people of the state, that's the demonic act of stalking with the method of peculiarized light. It is always occurring in the specific environment where you're looking at engineer light. This is the same engineer light present at nightfall. Those demons are pacing, monitoring with the police, 7AGW 753. And they're doing so under the same specific environment where the Ontario Fire Department were gang stalking this morning. This is the same address, license 9NKP 944. And they're engaged in monitoring. This is an act of aggression. This is an intolerable, impermissible threat by the entity that is gang stalking. This is all impossible light activity occurring underneath. Let me show you my shadow over here. All right, but you have my shadow that's appearing on the vehicle while it's in the shade, okay? As though sun is ricocheting off of the window and then hitting on the car, and that creates your upright shadow. The environment is relevant to identifying criminal surveillance, where they know what's going on with regard to who's inside of Gloria's Cochinas at 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was nobody. The entity was surrounding that building at 3 o'clock in the morning because they are obsessed with my vagina and obsessively consumed with me while they're stalking as demons in a demonic environment where the sun sits and remains all day long, rises and sets, and also the entities engaging what is stalking in bathrooms. These demons that are stalking with the possible light that you saw in front of the car, 8JUH 775, is monitoring gang stalking while this environment is present. And this is relevant to what is psychological torture. This is relevant to what is criminal defamation committed by this agency who committed a series of kidnappings. And by the way, there's no sun at what is 6:22 p.m. that's going to be at the 507 North Euclid Avenue on 507 North Euclid Avenue, the Starbucks, where the entity is engaged in gang stalking at Starbucks that committed kidnapping with this corrupt agency, where no sunlight is going to create your shadow upright, first of all. Second of all, when you're facing the sun. Third of all, when the sun is in the same position it is at this venue at 7 in the morning, at 6 in the morning. This is the entity that's engaged in what is criminal monitoring, which is demonic. It's relevant to surveillance, and it's relevant to the malice of those who are engaged in stalking, monitoring. These are monitoring spirits that are issued police vehicles, and they're engaged in public corruption with the people of the state. All right, that's impossible light on the side of the building over here. Again, more inexplicable light. All of these people are monitoring. Okay, all of them. And that demon is engaging what is communicating a threat. This is federal prison. The entity is being disbanded. And who is going to federal prison again? Monitoring my vagina. Okay, who's going to federal prison? License 1627719. So just want to document the vehicle, vehicle 1048. This is impossible light on the side of the vehicle. This is the pattern of conduct you're looking at on video while the entity is gang stalking, while the fake sun. This is Euclid Avenue up here. At 415 North Euclid Avenue, this is where the fake sun is at 6:38 a.m. It is 12 hours later, it's 6:23 p.m. This is the same Euclid Avenue. That's not in Los Angeles. When the sun is in Los Angeles, it's not creating this light activity either. Okay? The sun never reached Florida while it's still outside of the same entrance as I walk out. And the demons are going into the bathroom, homosexual women, to monitor my vagina on behalf of the sex offenders who will want to be mistaken for law enforcement. And you're going to target domestic terrorists in the U.S. that commit murder, that commit kidnappings, and that incentivize public corruption and criminal activity and sexual violence, which is the harm that the Ontario police pose while they're engaged in criminal surveillance. And they're going to be disbanded. And every gang stalking demon under the fake sun, they're going to federal prison. Okay, this is evidence against Casada. She's already gone. So are the other two demons. But this is evidence, again, as you're going to look at the body of evidence, the entity, the Ontario police have convicted itself, have exposed itself as demons who are engaged in criminal monitoring with the people. It's public corruption. This is called crossing path light activity and ongoing audible activity. 8HDK868, and driving in that does not create light on the ground beside your vehicle, never under any circumstance. They're stalking with light, and this is an evidence, this is another iteration of stalking with light. And the demons of the Ontario Police are gang stalking with the demons who are the people of the state. This is P.O.C. All right, and this is, again, thousands of sex offenders keeping my vagina under surveillance. That's the egregiously violent sex offense of gang stalking. Mike Lorenz is being removed, and so is everybody else. The department's being disbanded. But I want to be clear, who's going to federal prison? Okay, there's a list of kidnappers this far this year. It includes L. Martinez, B. Hook, Nathan Morgan, and C. Torres. C. Hazelwood's going to prison, and so is Owens. And the impunity that this department acts with, they're definitely going to federal prison. So is A. Quesada, L. Edwards, and Alex Escobar. That's gang stalking under the fake sun. That's present at 12:53 p.m. at 333 North Euclid Avenue, which was, again, off of D Street in Euclid. But the entity kept the fake sun over OVITT Family Community Library today. Don't forget at 12:32 and 12:52, as I'm documented at 1841 East G Street, the entity's keeping the fake sun, and the Ontario Police are stalking me by helicopter. By definition, your identification of the fake sun that's over my head at 1841 East G Street at Ramada by Wyndham, where that entity was keeping the fake sun from morning until evening. All right, and covering it up does not remove the pattern of conduct. It's never deleted off the record. And a pattern of conduct is speaking to that which is logically the case, and never is sunlight reaching in front of your car like that. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct of monitoring, the coexisting crossing of path conduct with engineer light, where they are monitoring on communication devices. And they also know what's going on with your vagina, with your genitalia and bathrooms, while they're keeping you under surveillance. And they also are engaged in what is cops and robbers. All they're doing is keeping themselves employed, engaging in what is the illusion of law enforcement. Oh, we're calling to report a crime. They're engaged in surveillance. They know exactly what's going on. And that's the sex offender that's engaging in what is stalking outside of stalking outside of the bathroom, while I am inside of it, and they're stalking in the bathroom to fake someone's over this entrance. After I documented at 9:59 in the morning, that's P.O.C. Those are the demons. The Ontario Police are demon possessed, and they're engaged in what is criminal monitoring in violation of Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. And they do so with impunity in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder. And the entity is subject to federal prison. And this is evidence which is relevant to what is public corruption throughout the state of California. It's happening under Gavin Newsom's watch. Paul Leon locally in the city of Ontario, and every gang stalking city, including Hesperia, where I am in, Holiday Inn at this time of year, and the entity is keeping the fake sun over my hotel room, which is not in alignment with the OVITT Family Community Library. It's not going to be reflecting off of the vehicles of the Ontario Police while they're gang stalking over here. It's not in alignment with 303 from sunrise until sunset, and also outside of my hotel room at the same time of year in Hesperia at 9750 Key Point. This is the entity that's specifically targeting me with a body of evidence that shows that, and you're going to federal prison for conspiring to murder an American citizen wearing police uniforms and bearing weapons and doing so. And they do that as corrupt police to get away with it. 9NKM177, they are serial killers. They are kidnappers. They are engaging in criminal conduct with the people of the state. It is currently, again, 6:27 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, capturing the entity that is gang stalking and doing so with impunity with the people of the state. And the entity is doing so, like I was stating, pursuant to monitoring the evidence. They are engaged in criminal summoning with the 280 North Limit Apartments, which is, again, relevant to where the fake sun is and where the nearest venue where the entity can engage in what is stalking in the path. And this is what the entity is doing when they're committing kidnappings as well, with those same people of the state that are stalking under the fake sun, stalking with impossible light. And then those are the same demons that are engaging in sex acts, such as stalking in bathrooms, and in that specific environment, doing so where the sun doesn't go anywhere and where sunlight ricochets off of the sides of your car, in front of your car. None of that is naturally occurring. It's relevant to what is surveillance, which you need to recognize is identified through the environment where this engineered light is everywhere. This impossible light activity is everywhere, which is relevant to what demons are doing. Demons are stalking with light because they're engaged in what is monitoring. It's entirely demonic, and it is the outward demonstration, the outward proof of what seeks to be closeted mental illness. And for a corrupt law enforcement agency to have such severe psychopathic disorders, that is a threat to the public. Just want to document that, and what I've documented about the Ontario Police and the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department and the demons throughout the state of California engaged in what is criminal monitoring and calling it law enforcement, they are the template for recognizing the national security threat of demons that are engaging in this criminal monitoring system. All right, it's currently 6:29 p.m. I want to be clear, the entities engaging in targeting in such manner, this is the purpose of it. The entities not engaging in an investigation, a federal investigation. The entities surmise that it would engage in what is targeting me. It would engage in sexual violence, like stalking in a bathroom, harassing, and then looking for some sort of and then essentially engaging in voyeurism, and then trying to measure the response of a human being, and that being evidence of mental illness, and then that was going to be the substance of supporting what is criminal defamation under all circumstances, what is theft of my property under all circumstances, and what is targeting. Targeting, meaning there is no excuse for YouTube to have engaged in what is stealing my property, my intellectual property, and gang stalking me, and then calling that an investigation. Gang stalking me and then engaging what is voyeurism, and then trying to analyze and assess what is a quote-unquote normal response to targeting, which is proven. But I'm just giving you what is the purpose behind what YouTube, what the federal government, what Tracy Banks thought was going on with regard to investigation that she thought was going to go a certain. No, she's going to federal prison. Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison. The demons of YouTube that engaged in conspiring my death, because that's exactly what you're doing while you're stealing my evidence. That's exactly what you're doing while you're permitting other gang stalkers, because that's what you are when you're interfering with an investigation and you're stealing my property. In doing so, you are threatening my life, and you're doing so intentionally. If I've got such little views, if I'm such a little nobody, how are you so interested in it, and why are you interested in stealing it? This is also relevant. All of this is context regarding what is actual surveillance going on, and I'm exposing it. And the entity is both trying to suppress that and also steal it. This is relevant. The criminal monitoring by the Ontario Police, which is a threat to your life while the police are stalking you and monitoring you, while they are kidnapping you and falsely accusing you, while they are defaming you in doing so pursuant to what is a greater purpose to kidnap you, while the entity maintains fraudulent marriages and fake conservatorships, which is aiding in what is a false and illegitimate quote-unquote investigation, which is nothing other than gang stalking, and then using that to falsely depict the character of the person that has been defrauded, the person that has been stolen from, and the person that remains targeted by the government. The entity literally essentially was engaging in what is gang stalking and then calling it a federal investigation while they're still just gang stalking, and they were going to use gang stalking as a means to defame. And it's the same thesis. Gang stalking shall never result in what is defaming somebody else that is documenting proven targeting, which is proven. Nobody can deny a casada under the fake sun. It's necessarily a fake sun. While it's present over me at 12:13 p.m., while it's present over me at 9:59 a.m., while it's still present at the same entrance at 6:02 p.m. While you're looking at my shadow in front of me, while there's shade behind me, while you're looking at the sun in front of me and my shadow in front of me upright on a vehicle, and you're looking at what is the presence of that sun 6 hours after a casada of the Ontario Police leaves. And that means the sun didn't go anywhere, so how is it in Florida? These are all common sense questions. This is not rocket science. This is the entity that's engaging in what is targeting someone and is necessarily requiring that all of the evidence proving targeting, which is relevant in an environment that's getting to malice. This is the satanic nature of this system. And the entity is counting on that the target individual is going to be silenced, the evidence is going to be disregarded, and you're merely looking at the surface. Oh, you're gang stalking. Oh, yeah. You're just accusing people that don't even know you, that aren't even paying attention to you, that don't even have an interest. They're talking to somebody else. This is all of that, and not only that, they are in a vacuum looking at what is a human being's response to what is incessant psychological torture and harassment and terrorism, and disregarding the environment where that's underway, disregarding the pattern of conduct such as kidnapping, such as malicious assertions, etc. And this is what the entity called a federal investigation. It's not a federal investigation, and that is what the entity did to get away with criminal acts that the entity has committed against me. The entity that's defamed my character, it will never overrule or supersede the fact that there were court hearings that I wasn't a part of. And so you want to gang stalk me, call that an investigation, and disregard my evidence and try to defame me. And that's also, so we're also going to just skate past the fact that you had court hearings that I wasn't a part of. No, that's not how that works either. So you want to just skate past the part and disregard the aspect of evidence pertaining to property that was never disclosed to me, hearings that were never disclosed to me, and a defamatory testimony in these court hearings concerning me, and I had no part in it. And you're going to call it a quote-unquote federal investigation where you are biased, you are interested in a very particular outcome, while you are sitting up gang stalking me and waiting and using that as a means to try to defame my character when you are the one that it's never going to supersede. Remember, you're not even getting to and analyzing all the body of evidence that I have, which is conclusive evidence of targeting of a demented nature. But you're getting to what is remaining, your unlawful conduct against me. And you are counting on corruption to disregard that and just defame the targeted individual. This is what YouTube, this is what the federal government, this is what Tracy Banks and Jason Fields, this is what the government, the Ontario police, for example, the state, this is what they're relying on. And that's absurd. But do not lose perspective. The demons that are stalking in the bathroom, the entity is doing so pursuant to what are acts of retaliation while I am publishing evidence on the internet. The entity is doing so while there is no legitimate investigation underway. The entity is doing so while they did nothing other than the same exact gang stalking that I've been documenting since 2018. And the entity does so pursuant to what is a gang stalking an American citizen, and then relying on what is the corrupt acts of that gang stalking entity to then defame that person and then overlook the criminal acts that that entity that's not engaged in a legitimate investigation, that is interested in a very particular outcome in order to defame that target individual and disregard what they've committed against that American citizen. That's not an investigation. That's not the way that the law operates. That's not accurate and appropriate and transparent policy with regard to how you're engaging in any execution when you are in search of the truth. None of that. But this is how the entity engaged. This is gang violence, in other words, groupthink conduct. Nobody's thinking individually. Nobody is thinking in any legitimate manner. There's no legitimate policy under that. I want to be clear. YouTube is very much interested in my being gang stalked and also my evidence being disregarded by what would necessarily be a corrupt government, a corrupt federal government. And I want to be clear, the federal government is engaging in what is targeting. There's no legitimate investigation of me. YouTube never had any basis. Tracy Banks never had any basis. Jason Fields never had any basis to investigate me in the first place. Moreover, the gang stalking evidence, which is proven by myself, beyond a reasonable doubt, by the way, is also not evidence that's going to defame me, and you will never get beyond what is remaining criminal conduct that YouTube, that Tracy Banks, that the courts, that Jason Fields have committed against me. It never, ever supersedes that. Then you're getting to what is the evidence of gang stalking. You're looking at these demons engaging in impunity. They're just gang stalking, having a field day, just pacing all around, just monitoring ongoing corruption right in front of your face. Psychological torture in real time while I'm documenting it. And this is the entity that's engaging in this, and they call that an investigation, absent what is my ability to translate to you the ongoing corruption that's actually underway. YouTube is a third party that has very deep pockets, that is engaged in what is a bias means, a corrupt means of trying to target someone, make money, steal ideas, permit others to do the same, and then rely on essentially gang stalking in order to falsely depict that victim, falsely depict the character of that victim that is supposed to be discarded and ignored. Okay, and a bigger picture, the entity intended to commit kidnapping and ultimately murder. That's why the demons of the Ontario police are going to prison. That's how I have the fake sun after 6 p.m. over this same entrance, and the Ontario police are on video at 10 o'clock in the morning flying over me in a circle by helicopter under that fake sun, and at 6 in the evening with the fake sun over this same entrance flying in circles over me at this same entrance. I'm the one that has that video documentation proving targeting of a very specific person and of a very specific nature. In fact, it's impossible to scientifically occur. It's impossible to naturally occur. That's getting to what they are. They're malicious. That is getting to their condition, i.e. they're demons who engage in this sort of conduct, this chicanery against people that typically don't have evidence to prove it. Not only do I have the evidence, I have the legal skill set and the ability to break down some logical facts to you, some logical information. You will never supersede and disregard what remains criminal conduct that YouTube engaged in. And defaming somebody else does not cause any court to ignore that. It never makes legitimate. Why is property taken from Erica Spencer and you're engaging in what is, you don't even have to answer the question whether this is a legitimate investigation or not. It's not, but we don't have to get to that because it will always be the fact that you stole my intellectual property. I'm going to prosecute. And the entity targets me in the bathroom. The entity targets me by the Ontario police in furtherance of the effort of criminally defaming me, harassing and psychologically torturing me in hopes of the uninformed purpose of gang stalking, because they surmise the entity, the purpose of the system is to result in what is criminally defaming an American citizen. That only works when you don't have evidence. That only works when you're not able to, and unfortunately this is the ordinary targeting individual that is not stupid. They're not ignorant, because you can't make sense of this psychopathic pattern of conduct, of this psychotic nonsense. Okay, I have made sense of it, and I've also made it palatable for any person to understand for your own safety, and also to prosecute on a federal level. That's not going to defame any person, and it certainly isn't defaming me, and it certainly is never going to result in YouTube getting away with criminal conduct that they're going to pay for. while demons 8UTP988 are acting as an entity, targeting me with YouTube, targeting me with Tracy Banks, targeting me with Ontario Police, the state of California. That is very much interested in my demise. My demise includes both defaming my character, so you can get away with criminal acts that you've committed against me, and also with regard to what is kidnapping. Remember, the entity wants to defame so they can lock you up and take everything that you have. The entity wants to get away with stealing my money, stealing my property. Do I have a house, a real property somewhere, somebody living in it? Those demons want to get away with remaining in it. That's what they want. That's what they're after. The entity that's gang stalking by the Ontario Police Department, this is a template letting you know what every law enforcement agency, because this is what they're called, but they're not law enforcement agencies, what every gang stalking and corrupt terrorist organization is engaging in, as you are providing and understanding the nomenclature, when you are understanding and adjusting your mind to the fact that we are not different from third world countries, insofar as the United States is betraying its own by engaging in terrorizing them. And so there is necessarily a legal framework to create and a legal, federal legislation to surround in order to prosecute terrorism and target domestic terrorists in this country. And it includes YouTube. Imagine that. YouTube, that is so intricately involved in my demise that demons in Ontario are targeting me because YouTube is maintaining a biased and illegitimate investigation after YouTube is engaged in what is criminal activity, which is a threat to my life and safety, including while these sex offenders, this homosexual A Casada, is monitoring my vagina by stalking outside of this bathroom where the fake son is still present 6 hours later. Where all of her partners are gang stalking on video and in images under the fake sun that's in the same position it is right now in the morning at this same exact location at 303 North Euclid Avenue, where you're looking at the same thing from the opposite vantage point. I'm looking from C Street, the turn circle from the OVITT Family Community Library. I'm looking west. From 303 North Euclid Avenue, I'm looking east. And it's the same street right here, and the fake sun is rising and setting right here. That's where the entity is engaging what it's targeting. And the reason my ability to get that is because of the harassment that I understood that I have to prove, and you have to prove it with tangible evidence. It's not merely the fact that I discern demons. I know what they are. I know what they're doing. But you have to prosecute in court with evidence. They are demons. And not only that, they're criminals. Okay? And the evidence of the P.O.C. is establishing both for you. The entity that's engaged in targeting on the internet, you're going to prison. The entity that's gang stalking with the Ontario Police, you're going to prison. The entity that's engaged in what is kidnapping while wearing a police uniform, you're going to federal prison. The entity that's engaged in criminal summoning with the Ontario Police, you're going to federal prison. And Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields are going to federal prison. That's at the top. That's axiomatic, okay? The entity is engaging in this and is doing so with a level of impunity that requires a sizable response by the federal government. This impunity that I'm documenting, that I'm witnessing, remember, that applies to the gang stalking immigrants in this country. All of them. They're being deported. It's not separate and distinct. You want to engage in targeting as an entity? Well, that entity includes the gang stalking immigrants in California, equally disregarding the rights of privacy, the right to not be tortured, the right to not be harassed, the right for you to not stalk me in a bathroom. What the heck is wrong with you? And then you want to harass me by the police as I walk out to document it, and that's supposed to silence me. That's supposed to quiet me down. That's supposed to intimidate me. Okay, no, you're going to federal prison. That's the response for that. That's the response for that. And that's what terrorism in the United States is going to be addressed as. That's the fashion it's going to be addressed with. You're not going to threaten my life, in other words, and represent, in other words, muddy the title, the purpose of law enforcement, which is not criminal surveillance, not stalking, not sexual violence, not creepy, weirdo, psychopathic crap like the Ontario Police and the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department and the Los Angeles Police Department and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. That's what they represent. That's what they're documenting. The evidence surrounds it. License 9NHY129. The ongoing impunity is relevant to how you're going to prosecute the whole entity because it's a population that are betting on the death of one person. It's a population that does so and calling itself a police department. Oh, that one that engages in kidnapping, Ontario Police License 1627719. That's federal prison. Okay? This entity is engaging in that, and he is engaging in what is criminal summoning. You're not engaging in anything legitimate. You can give me evidence because I represent the federal government. You can provide evidence, what you were doing, what the call you got. It's happening in the specific environment. The P.O.C. is simultaneously underway, and that's how public corruption is underway, and the targeted individual shall not be disregarded. You are going to federal prison. This is how an entity is engaging in psychological torture, and these demons think that they're smart, and they're not. If they were smart, then they wouldn't be under a fake sun that remains over one address for 12 days. Excuse me, for 12 hours. All I have to do is point that out. Look up. All you got to do is look up. These demons think they're crafty, and you're not. You're not at all. You're going to prison. They are, again, counting on the fact that you're going to look at that badge and you're going to look at the authority that they're given. And this, guess what? It's the abuse of authority. That's what that is. So there is something to do in response to that. I've proven corruption. I've proven abuse of authority. And the federal government has a duty in response. You are not entitled to, you don't have the right to exercise what is abuse of authority. That's what they're doing while they're gang stalking simultaneously. All you do is surround a person in the specific environment and you call that an investigation. What did they do the other morning? All they did was surround a building and they call that an investigation. They're gang stalking. Same exact engineer light. These are psychopaths, and those psychopaths, they murder people, they kidnap them, they're pedophiles, they engage in not only murders, but they engage in setting people up, lying, bearing false witness with the same demons who are stalking me in the bathroom. Those are the same ones that will bear false witness with that same corrupt agency in a corrupt courtroom, having people kidnapped for crimes they didn't commit. This is how that corrupt system operates. This is how that works. Having people, by the way, subject to the death penalty when they didn't even commit the crime. And you don't know anything about it because you don't know anything about state surveillance. You don't know anything about targeting. And you think that that person sitting on the bench is entitled to all manner of what is unquestioned authority. No one questioning it. And that is not the case. When you are aware of surveillance now, surveillance that the government didn't tell us about, you can't be trusted anymore. And it is not necessarily what you say. It is not, because you've proven yourself to be untrustworthy. And this is evidence, the P.O.C. is evidence of abuse of authority. And that's not going to be disregarded. And then you have corrupt and disgusting companies like YouTube who want you to think that they're there for the little guy and they're there to make sure that your voice is heard. Those are thieves. Those are demons who are in the same state of California under a fake sun. Look at Google. On Google Maps, they have a fake sun over San Bruno, over the headquarters. They have a fake sun over everywhere. Look at Google Maps, you'll see the fake sun over everything. This is one of the first things that I documented. It's a scientific impossibility. It's asinity. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's plain stupidity what Google has published on the internet regarding Google Maps. Relevant information, though. But Google Maps is scientifically irrelevant. Okay? You can't use that. The sun is not over everyone everywhere. That's showing, that is showing, however, what is the specific environment that is in the state of California that I'm showing, proving is targeting me. This is surveillance, in other words, meaning they know what's going on with your genitalia. They're not strangers. They know who you are. They're targeting you with regard to a specific investment in your demise. That's why they are targeting you. And they represent an entity, not individuals, an entity that is acting uniformly in a uniform environment, meaning no matter where I go, Hesperia and Ontario are maintaining the same exact environment, and that's impossible. That's the disbanding of the Ontario Police. Like, that's the federal prosecution of license JALEPO. Hold on, JAEPHD. That's the federal prosecution of that third-party license plate. As you're able to look at that, and that's the body of evidence that the P.O.C. provides. Okay, your interest in my vagina is perverted. It's sick and demented, and you need to know that that's of Satan. And the government's actually engaging and incentivizing sexual violence. Sex offenders align themselves in the male restroom. Sex offenders of a homosexual orientation then enter into the women's restroom, and they're engaging in activity creation. The focus is not buying coffee at Starbucks. The focus is not a health check in front of the library. The focus is not checking out books and returning them inside of the library. The focus is not even relieving yourself in the bathroom. The focus is activity creation, light activity, presence, while they're monitoring. And what are they doing in a bathroom? You're stalking and you're monitoring genitalia that these sex offenders don't want you to know they're obsessed with. They're sex offenders. Sexual violence is more popular than you know. Pedophilia is more, these perverts, they have children. And guess what? That's sexual violence that they get to maintain at home. And the police aren't going to do anything about it. They're sex offenders right along with them. You know what they're doing when they have these cases on the news about children being trafficked, children being kidnapped and found? They're playing cops and robbers. The state of California is engaging in surveillance. They know what everybody's doing everywhere. It's an unspoken system. Unspoken. And they're demons. Disappearances under the fake sun is an illusion. That's a fallacy. It's a farce. They know what happened, and the entity is engaging in what is sacrificing children and murdering them and leaving them somewhere. And then coming around and making up that narrative regarding, oh, we've got a missing child. We're going to have to investigate. That's a sacrifice committed by the entity. okay? That's the P.O.C. And the police are fully engaged in that criminal activity. In Ontario, in this town, the Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. And this is how you're going to target domestic terrorists in this country. And by the way, the Ontario Police Department are very plainly and openly communicating to the rest of this country that they hate the Constitution. They hate your standing up for your constitutional rights, okay? They are a domestic enemy. I've stated it before, and all I do is hold up my camera and I let you witness it for yourself. They're engaged in criminal surveillance of a sexually perverted nature as well. And they're doing so even more aggressively as I document. Look at that pattern of conduct. They are enemies of the United States. They are enemies of the Constitution. They're enemies of American citizens enforcing those rights. You hate this country so bad, you are entirely unfit to be in that position. And it's the same logic, by the way, with those that have been granted the privilege to be in this country. You hate this country so bad? Oh, don't worry. The Homeland Security, they are getting to it, and you will be deported, especially when word gets out about terrorism in the state of California. That's a whole other basis that Mr. Trump has not incorporated into the immigration policy in California. All right, I just want to make sure that you understand the implications. The entity is engaged in targeting, and it's relevant to what is an entirely illegitimate and biased investigation. It's not investigation. The entity has been torturing and tormenting, stalking and harassing, and did so with regard to the false idea behind gang stalking, the false premises upon which this system was created, because it was never created for someone like myself to dismantle it and expose it and prosecute thereby it. It's not going to result in defaming any American citizen, and it's certainly not serving to defame me. The entity is doing so maliciously. These are demons that are maliciously targeting and trying to take your life, maliciously targeting and trying to steal from you, maliciously targeting trying to defame you. Your failed effort is relevant for what you intend to do, though. 9AGT 709, a demon-possessed family. The female is a homosexual obsessed with my vagina, and her partner driving the vehicle is equally obsessed with my vagina. These are the sickos that are demons gang stalking together. And then they go home together and call themselves being in a relationship, being a family. This is the mental illness of the demon-possessed. These are the secrets of those that are in darkness. And these are the ones that you, by the way, you're following on the internet. You're mimicking them, their lifestyles and their theories on life and what they believe. And you're idolizing them. You want to live in frame your life around what your so-called idol did and the way that they did it and how they think and what they tell themselves every day. And you're listening to demons. Okay? These celebrities, guess what? They're demons. Demons that are engaging in the same pattern of conduct. There is no respecter of persons with regard to the P.O.C. There's no respecter of persons with regard to Christ Jesus either. And there is no difference. I've been in plenty of quote-unquote affluent neighborhoods where they're monitoring me. That fake sun remains right over it. It does not skip a beat. Okay? License plate 7UZF055. So I want to be clear, the demons are very much engaged in what is targeting me. The entity's been engaged in what is tormenting and executives, third parties. The entity that's engaged in, I just want to let you know right now, I don't need to know what your specific name is at YouTube, but you need to prepare for federal prison, because I've been documenting you for years, and you're going to federal prison for stealing from me. You're going to federal prison for tormenting and harassing and terrorizing me by doing so as an entity and doing so invested in that outcome and falsely theorizing that it was going to result in my demise and you getting away with criminal conduct, stealing from me, which is a threat to my life and a threat to any American citizen that has a right to not be subject to domestic terrorism. You're going to prison, and you know who you are, and I know that you know who you are, and you're going to federal prison. Especially while, listen to me, you don't understand how this, while I'm in Ontario, I am establishing a case amongst every single last one of you. This is what you don't understand. This is what you do not understand. Okay? And I get it. You don't understand the bigger picture, and that's good, because that's by design. Because while you thought you were setting a trap for me, you have been caught up in your own snare. That's scripture, and it is truth. It's prophetic, actually. You're going to federal prison. This has been entirely illegitimate at the outset, and you did so with the intent to get away with criminal conduct that would never be ignored, regardless of the mental health of any person. But that false logic is relevant to corruption that the P.O.C. exposes. All right, it's currently 6:53 p.m. These demons that are stalking with the 280 North Limit Apartments, maintaining ongoing light activity 7DED 002, 6UWW 878, stalking as a whole criminal enterprise. Okay, this is criminal conduct that the Ontario police are relying on. License plate, they're engaging in pacing for them, and this is what they do regarding my vagina in the bathroom. AREDC, license plate, stalking with peculiarized light, just like the truck you see on video. Demons in front of 280, 9 TTA 803, and the Ontario police are engaged in monitoring with that. Those are vicarious actors, and the Ontario police represent the state that is acting directly, sharing in the same exact pattern of conduct in the same exact specific environment. The sun that is present at 7 in the morning is not maintaining sunlight across the top of the trees at the same location, because that's the engineered light you'll see. It's not the sun, it's not the sunset. Okay, it's not outside of my hotel in Hesperia at the same time. It never made it to Florida under these circumstances. It's not the natural environment where at 7 in the morning, this same corrupt terrorist agency is calling it police training while they're gang stalking me at the same strip of street where the sunrise is looking just like the sunset at the same exact location. That's the entity that's monitoring my vagina. That's the entity that's engaging in what is a network of communication devices, a network of demons. I'm showing you screenshots. The sex offender, the homosexual female in the bathroom is stalking with the gang stalking demon that's maintaining perfect alignment outside of the bathroom door while he's monitoring with the demons outside, pacing all around under the fake sun. This is a massive sex act while they're monitoring stalking as a population before they commit murder as an entity under the false illusion of that targeted individual taking their own life. This is what Tracy Banks thought was going to happen because she is a delusional psychopath. That's why she thought that was going to happen. And it's the same with her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields. Okay, somebody that she basically is having sex with her naive son. Okay, and so he is engaged in what is a sexual relationship with her, listening to whatever fables that Satan was whispering in his ear. And this is a demon now who's engaged in what is the unfortunate pattern of conduct, which is putting him in federal prison. That's why this demon is engaging in what is lying on my character. He's the male prostitute. He's the promiscuous one. He's the disease-infected one, not me. The entity lied on that. I want to be clear. Having STDs, that's not even relevant to what is the ability to control your own property and money. Not only is this insufficient under existing law, the entity doesn't have authority because they're engaging in surveillance, meaning you don't have jurisdiction. Thirdly, that's not even relevant to what is being able to control your own money and property. The entity was just throwing out all kinds of nonsense. What does somebody's sexual history have to do with, and I want to be clear, and this is what I'm stating, for anybody, even if I was promiscuous, what does that have to do with my money and my house and my property and YouTube stealing that which doesn't belong to YouTube? Tracy Banks stealing that and stealing my identity? What does that have to do with anything? License 9JAV450. What does that have to do with my competence? What does that have to do with capacity? What does that have to do with my not being present in the courtroom, not being present, not getting that due process right to talk about whether I'm promiscuous or not? And what I would do would be an objection regarding relevance. That's what I would do. And those demons know that. That's why I wasn't there. But I just want to be clear for anybody in the United States, what does that have to do with your ability to control your own money and property? Because in my house, with my own money, I can do whatever I want. I can have sex with whoever I want. Who do I answer to? Christ Jesus. That's who I answer to. That has nothing to do with anything. That was a projection by these whores, by these prostitutes, who are actually Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks. Okay? The entities amongst others. But I want to be clear that that's totally irrelevant, and it is insufficient to even establish, while you're defaming someone, actual mental illness under the statute. No, it's not. It's totally irrelevant. The entity is engaging in what is all manner of just name calling, and not only is it insufficient, it's obviously farcical. They made it up, but it's even that which they made up is inadequate to establish mental illness. What does that have to do with my ability? You're the one with bad credit. You're the one that cannot save up and finance your own vehicle. You're the one that's engaging in a lifestyle of fraudulent activity. You didn't finance your own education. You didn't maintain A-line credit in order to do so. That was me. I'm the one that moved to the opposite end of the country without your help. You didn't give me a dime. You didn't counsel me. I didn't ask you for advice. You did none of that. I'm the one that went to college and went to law school on my own dime. You didn't do that. 9TRW122. That's also why the entity, that's another license plate, by the way. That's the reason why also the entity does not include me in the court hearings, because it is clear on its face that would have been very unsuccessful while you have these demons who are speaking lies, which is also the practice of witchcraft. Okay, but this is legally going to be treated, it's defamation under the law, 9EWE277. But I just want to be clear, first of all, it's the government, none of the government's business. Second of all, it's entirely insufficient to establish mental illness. totally irrelevant. While the entity just engaged in all manner of criminal conduct. And what are they relying on? Oh, the repeated kidnappings by the Ontario police. See, she's got a case. She's a criminal. No, I've been kidnapped repeatedly by these demons who are obsessed with my vagina. And that includes Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields. 9HCT144. Stalking with the Ontario police, all of them. 9BOS 981. And this is the agency that's acting with impunity as though there's no consequences in the federal court. The entity that's going to be the regime of targeting domestic terrorists in this country. This is exactly what you're cognizant of when they are sentenced. Because domestic terrorists in the U.S., you're going to prison. You're going to federal prison. You are a domestic enemy. And there is no distinction in the Constitution, in the document. Foreign or domestic. There's no difference. You are going to be treated as the opposition that you are. And that's what the Ontario Police Department are while they're gang stalking an American citizen and have the audacity to be hostile because you're enforcing your constitutional rights. First of all, you're done with law enforcement. Second of all, there's something to do with terrorists like that. You throw them in prison and you put them in their place. They're not above the law. And everybody else in the United States is going to learn that as well. Because this is lawlessness, this is corruption, this is abuse of authority and power that has been long existing. And I'm telling you right now, the way that you snap that, you uproot that, is federal prison. You're going to federal prison. And the rest of them, I'm going to let you know right now, the rest of them are going to learn from what the Ontario Police Department refused to accept at the outset because they could have avoided federal prison. But it's their due. They've engaged in murdering a lot of people. They've engaged in kidnapping and gang stalking like I'm showing. They've done this to a lot of people, and that's why I'm in Ontario and the Lord is judging at this level. This is why, because this is long overdue. The documentation is showing what is outright enemies of the United States government. Enemies of the Constitution, enemies of American citizens, including while they target with the people of the state. 14764V2, stalking with the Ontario police, communicating a lawful threat, conspiring murder, engaging in psychological torture. All right, doing so in furtherance of the conspiracy to murder. That's why they're gang stalking. And they share that as a population, all engaged in monitoring my vagina. This is a sex offender after sex offender after sex offender. 9HUX 940. Sex offenders that know what's going on with you in between your legs, and they look at you as though they don't know that, while they're engaged in, as a society, gang stalking you. Those are the psychopaths that surround in California. Okay? But I just want to be clear. I want to go back to what is the bigger picture. While I'm still here in Ontario, I don't have to look at and know the names and run down a laundry list of the defendants that stole my property, working for YouTube, that engaged in permitting others on the venue of the internet, which is an unlawful threat. You are responsible for why I've been subject to torment and terrorism and kidnapping for years. I want to be clear, you're going to prison and I don't have to see your face. See, I've been surrounding you with laws and a federal case for years. I've been documenting while you thought that you were targeting and getting away with it. No, I've been building my case for years and you're going to federal prison. My public investigation, which no third party, including YouTube, on the venue of the internet shall ever interfere with, you are engaging in what is an unlawful threat to an American citizen's life, meaning their life remains under threat every single day, every moment. That never stops until justice is met, until the entity is stopped, meaning that American citizen is removed from that circumstance by the federal government, okay, a prosecution, stopping it. That has not happened. And by the way, it is, again, third parties like YouTube as to the reason why it has been prolonged. And I'm going to recover for that as well. But you're going to prison. You know who you are. This is terrorism. And surveillance in the United States includes surveillance, as I'm showing you in relevant position, gang stalking, federal group stalking and monitoring. It includes that which is happening on the internet as well. This is where you will be prosecuted for terrorism on the venue of the internet based on the pattern of conduct, how the entity is engaging in it. All manner of a comprehensive system of surveillance. It's happening online. It's happening via communication devices. It's happening in relevant position and everywhere. I've shown you at the police station, the sheriff's department, the courthouse, the mall, your apartment where you live, the housing subdivision, the neighborhood where you are, the park, the freeway, gang stalking, surveillance, massive, ceaseless, everywhere at all times. This is domestic terrorism where a targeted individual and their life is under threat. And surveillance is occurring on the venue of the internet. And you are going to be subject to a prosecution for what is no small thing. You're talking about terrorism. And you are going to federal prison. I just want to be clear. I don't need to know your name. You're witnessing the case against you. You're witnessing it. So I just want to make sure that that's understood. This is an entity that is licensed 9ZSV625. This is an entity that's gang stalking targeting with YouTube. This is how that entity operates. With regard to the illusion of privacy, the illusion of individuality. No, these are not individuals. This is an entity, a population, an entity kept me under surveillance today while the sun remained over, first of all, Euclid Avenue. Rising on Euclid Avenue, 415 North Euclid Avenue. This is the same street. I'm 0.3 miles away south on the same street where I documented the fake sun upon my exit, where I entered at 9:59:10 a.m. I'm at the Ontario Town Square, which is right here on the opposite side of the same turn circle. Ontario Town Square, OVITT Family Community Library. This is all the same plaza right here. I'm here at 7 in the morning showing you the fake sun. And the entity still has it here after 6 p.m. Okay? This is a population. This is one entity. These aren't individuals as you're prosecuting and recognizing that P.O.C. So that illusion is shattered. Okay? VOLMO. That's another license plate. That illusion is shattered. And you also do not have any individual rights under the Constitution as a private citizen when you are engaging in an undisclosed system of surveillance with the state in furtherance of murder, violating the constitutional rights and privacy rights of another. You're not exercising any constitutional rights. You're doing so on behalf of the government. That's a demon just like you. They engage in the same pattern of stalking with light, stalking under the fake sun, monitoring using amplified noise, all manner of the demons of the government use it in their disposal, i.e. planes, helicopters, fire, police, ambulance, and the people of the state use whatever they have at their disposal. Okay, the entity uses what is amplified train. That's maintaining noise in the environment. The demons are stalking because all the vehicles have this supernatural ability to shoot light outside of their car doors while they're driving by me, and shoot light in front of their cars, and shoot light behind their cars all over the ground, and swipe it across the sidewalk, and swipe it across buildings. This is the entity that's engaging what is engineer light all around you. It's relevant to psychological torture. It's relevant to what is harassment. It's relevant to a sex offense while they're touching for the criminal purpose of monitoring, and it's also relevant to psychologically harmful conduct that a population is committing before they murder you. For whatever reason, your money, your identity, these demons think that they could steal your personality and steal your intellect. They've been watching too many Disney movies. This is a mentally ill population. And the illusion of the specific environment, as I've shown it to you, that's the same illusion that's going to be used to diagnose. The illusion of engaging in criminal conduct as a police officer. That level of malice is going to be used to diagnose. The entity that's engaging in what is gang stalking with regard to the criminal conduct and bearing false witness and the far lengths to which you are targeting someone, lying on them, stealing from them, bearing false witness, and while you're gang stalking and psychologically torturing them, and then trying to falsely depict their character. You're trying to call them crazy while you're engaging in psychological torture. That's relevant to diagnosing the entity. Okay? That's the P.O.C. That is the P.O.C. The entity is a population of what is contrary to what the medical field would have you thinking, that particular people have, extraordinary circumstances that may need attention regarding mental health, regarding their behavioral health. No, you have a population. You have a population of people. And this is based on what is their condition, which is spiritual. That is, if you're in spiritual darkness, you're literally witnessing the evidence of losing your right mind when Satan gets a hold of you. Like the demon-possessed that are gang stalking as a whole state. License plate, 6XOP835. You're mentally ill when you're crouching in bathrooms stalking somebody. You're mentally ill when you are stalking somebody using a helicopter. You're mentally ill when you're stalking somebody using a commercial plane or any kind of plane. This person is not a threat to the United States. Remember, perspective. This is not it's not like I'm Osama bin Laden and I stole a whole bunch of weapons and I'm plotting to shoot up something. None of that. An innocent a private citizen minding their business. Okay? Minding their business, and everybody else is minding my business too. Everybody else is thinking that my vagina is their business. KB8119, I believe, handicap, and their handicap status is the truth, but it's not based on what you need to know. Their handicap is because they're mentally ill. 75017T3, 9RCJ494. And the mentally ill are a part of the law enforcement in California. And that is also speaking to what is disqualification. You are mentally ill while you are engaging in what is a systematic means of criminal conduct, and you are at the same time representing yourself as being law enforcement to maintain law and order. That's relevant to mental illness. Okay, the entities engage that malice. This is letting you know, and it's mental illness is actually originating in a spirit. This is, the medical field doesn't speak on that, okay? And this is, again, the disregard of God, and this is so that they can sell you products and tell you, oh, you need medication. No, you need Jesus. You need Jesus. This is why you have what is an ongoing attack, and demons telling you to do things, demons telling you to hurt other people, demons telling you to hurt yourself, demons telling you that you're worth nothing and you're never going to be nothing, and you're listening to that and you're perturbed by that. No, that's spiritual warfare. And medication is not going to make that go away. This is why you've heard on the disclaimers, it may cause you to begin. If you weren't already engaging in suicidal ideation, once you start taking those drugs, then you're going to start suicidal ideation. All right, then it may cause a fluctuation in your weight. It may cause you to become violent. It has all manner. That's not a resolution. They're selling you stuff. And they're totally disregarding the core of the issue. What your behavior manifests as is relevant to what's inside of you, which is spiritual. And that's the truth. And spiritual, not all spiritual is good. Okay? I'm showing you what is absolutely bad. These are demons. Okay? These are demons who are monitoring while you're hearing the Star Spangled Banner, its audible activity, engaged in criminal monitoring. And they do so under the fake sun that's present with the Ontario Montclair School District at 7 in the morning. This is the same venue after 6 p.m. And they're engaging in this with regard to flying. I've documented domestic enemies flying the American flag while they're gang stalking, engaging in un-American conduct. This is what is represented while the police are engaged in gang stalking. The entities singing the Star Spangled Banner while they're gang stalking. That is the malice of the entity, and this is unfortunately the demise of the United States. And I want to be clear, it's not new because I'm stating it right now. This has been the case. Now it's just openly being addressed. Okay, these are a bunch of demons that are monitoring, and they're doing so with regard to what is the focal point actually. You saw the fake sun. You saw the demons pacing around. They're doing so with regard to monitoring me. It's not even about this collection of people. This collection of people are monitoring. And that's the reality of the significance. And also the substance of what they're singing is relevant to what they're listening to me talk about. And engaging what is monitoring by singing the Star Spangled Banner, it's essentially like engaging what is burning the flag. That's what they're doing. It's tantamount to burning the flag. The entity is engaging in what is entirely un-American and doing so through the malicious guise of singing the Star Spangled Banner. Okay, you're engaged in criminal monitoring. You're engaged in un-American criminal conduct while you're wearing a police uniform under the guise of providing a health check to an American citizen, appearing as though you're doing good when actually you are engaged in terrorism, the absolute worst, betraying American citizens. That's what you just listened to while a demon sings the Star Spangled Banner in the specific environment, monitoring me, not even actually focused on what they should be focused on. Have an event. They're all monitoring. That's why the fake sun is here. Public corruption coexists with everything that's happening in the state. That's how you have a sun in Florida. Anywhere in Florida, because it's going to be more than one. While it's remaining over the OVITT Family Community Library, that's how you know that this is a demon-possessed gang stalker singing the Star Spangled Banner, while demons are sitting around being psychopaths, flashing light, pacing around in engineer light under a fake sun all day long. The psychopaths that fill the state of California, that's going to make them or sound less horrible, and it doesn't. You're listening to people that hate this country. And they hate what are the people that are in this country. No loyalty. Loyalty is to money, and they will sell anything and do anything in order to accomplish that or to achieve that or acquire that. That's the reality, okay? This is hypocrisy in the United States, and it's unfortunate. All right, so I just want to document that. It is currently 7:13 p.m. The entity is engaging what is keeping also the fake moon over the same venue. That's what I documented last night. And then you're going to recall the things that you listened to that are laughable. A demon that's engaged in un-American criminal activity under the guise of holding a music event in the specific environment under the fake sun where domestic terrorism is underway in the United States, where they sing the Star Spangled Banner, which really is something that is just a smack in the face with regard to what that actually means to those that have given their lives for this country, for those that are engaging in this criminal system. But that's the significance, and I'm just reporting it to you. I'm just letting you know. This is what it is, and this is all that which you can see for yourself. This is not just commentary and conjecture that's unsupported. This is all proven through what is literally the supernatural maintenance of an environment that could not be anything other than what it is that I'm telling you. They're stalking and monitoring, and they're doing so in a manner that you were never supposed to witness or pay attention to. And even while it's exposed, you're supposed to just not listen to the targeted individual. You're going to just disregard the evidence, and they're just going to keep on and then point fingers at you like you're crazy. Those are delusional psychopaths. Nobody is disregarding the evidence, and this is exposure, inevitable exposure of what is mental illness, what is sexual violence, public corruption, and the unconstitutional and un-American maintenance of criminal surveillance, which is inhumane. Okay? It is currently 7:14 p.m. This is the prosecution of the state of California, the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department, and exposing what are the domestic terrorists that fill the state of California. People that are in the state enjoying the benefits of being in the United States, and they actually hate this country, and their criminal conduct is the affirmative evidence of that. Not what they state, not what they sing, not what they act like. All right, you are what you do. And these are demons who are engaging in gang stalking. They're demonic, and they're actually wicked, and they're perverts. And none of that is hyperbole. Unfortunately, that is the absolute truth. All right, sex offenders sharing and molesting, and this is with the Ontario Police. The Ontario Police are sitting here gang stalking in plain view. This is an unlawful threat posed to an American citizen while you're engaged in criminal surveillance, public corruption, and it typically is resulting in what are the police stalking you, conspicuously stalking you, and threatening you also in your face, including while they're smiling and cheesing and coking and joking, while they're monitoring you at the same time, bearing weapons, threatening you, and doing so even you're not addressing someone with regard to necessarily threatening them while you're in the specific environment. All manner of a threat is analyzed in that environment, and the behavioral pattern of gang stalking. You're stalking simultaneously while you're smiling and molesting with impossible light, while you're smiling and stalking by helicopter and commercial planes, while you're stalking and smiling and pacing all around like roaming psychopaths. The entities engaging in this while bearing weapons, and Ontario Police are sharing in this sex offense. Third parties engaging in that molestation includes 5HYH536, 9TUJ681, 9UCZ805, 9NXD308, 8UGN913, 9SED702, and doing so while the demons are pacing along what is the C Street. So they're driving up and down where the Wells Fargo is, where I've documented the fake sun in the morning, where you saw the fake sun setting today. As I come out of the same entrance, these are demons that are engaging in a sex offense together monitoring. All right, it's currently 7:38 p.m. Just want to get a couple more. License 9NRC621, 9JAV450, 9UDD851, 8UFP323, 6HFS746. All these terrorists, all these sex offenders, they were driving right into the parking garage, and many of them are gang stalking, engaging in un-American and criminal conduct, monitoring on my device right now while the evidence is being uploaded. They're interfering with the case against the government, the terrorists themselves, keeping the evidence under surveillance. This is all going to be brought up and prosecuted with regard to domestic terrorism in the United States. 9GVF381, 9LDH385, 7YSP995, 5HLU164, 8DQC621, 8LEG154, 6LKU282, 8FGC365, and 8DQL883, 8NHY129. And if I feel like it, I might come in and get the whole parking garage, 9AXF488. All right, I have time. It's currently 7:39 p.m. P.O.C. All right, this is the Ontario Police gang stalking with the intent to obstruct justice. While I am documenting in order to publish and expose a gang stalking immigrant that is engaged in threatening my life with the Ontario Police Department, and their co-defendant engages in terrorizing by stalking in helicopter, again, in the specific environment. There's the specific environment following from the Ontario Town Square, where the entities engaging what is monitoring on my devices in violation of Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, in conformity to the criminal pattern of conduct that the third party is engaging what is criminal monitoring in concert with the Ontario Police, and further into the criminal conspiracy to commit murder. In fact, while I am reporting the gang stalkers of the immigrant population, this is when and why the Ontario Police engage in that heavily documented pattern of conduct of stalking and terrorizing and psychologically torturing me by helicopter, which is an unlawful threat to my life, safety, and physical well-being, which the people of the state, including the immigrant population, pose together with the intent to obstruct justice. This is P.O.C. It's currently 9:02 p.m. Here's the Ontario Police engaging in ongoing stalking with the people of the state. They're both gang stalking with the immigrants who are being reported to I.I.S. and gang stalking with homegrown terrorists like license 9KEH912 with the demons that are stalked with impossible light at the entrance of Starbucks. You already know that they're gang stalking. The entity keeps the fake sun over this venue. The entity is engaging in stalking with light over there while these demons are pacing, and the Ontario Police engage in what is ongoing provision of evidence against the to-be-deported immigrant population that's engaging in domestic terrorism in the United States. They're doing so under the fake moon. They're doing so while they're engaging in surveillance, stalking with light around the perimeter, doing so while they are against the government. And the entity is gang stalking with the Ontario Police. That incriminates everyone. That's an unlawful threat while immigrants are engaging in terrorism in the United States and in California. And to engage in another iteration of criminal monitoring, like you're looking at psychopaths stalking with light right here. They're monitoring on devices and their demons, acting in furtherance of conspiracy to murder. That's what's relevant with regard to stalking with light, psychopathic behavior. And the entity engaging in stalking again in a helicopter with regard to psychopathic patterns of engaging in what is an ongoing incessant threat, which you then document, you publish it on the internet, and that's how the Ontario Police are being disbanded. It is currently, by the way, 9:22 p.m. This is P.O.C. Just want to show you Ontario Police. This is their tactic, and it all goes on the internet, flying over my head again while I'm uploading onto Starbucks. The entity would rather go to federal prison to try to slow down internet uploads while it is still going on the internet, even while they're monitoring online. And the entity does so while they flew right over my head. That's the Ontario Police flying back and forth, monitoring the evidence again, and doing so with the people of the state. That's not traffic. This is all surveillance. Those demons from way over there molest me with impossible light. Those are the sex offenders stalking with impossible light. You've seen it on video right in here. This is a demon stalking in the path, keeping me under surveillance right here, all in what is the engineered environment. This is surveillance while the Ontario Police are stalking in helicopter while the evidence goes on the internet. That's being disbanded. C. Torres, L. Martinez, B. Hook, Nathan Morgan, C. Hazelwood, Owens, L. Edwards, Alex Escobar, and A. Quesada are going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. All right, the two videos that you just listened to are relevant to what is not only monitoring that's committed with the intent to threaten and harass and terrorize with the immigrant population in particular. These are equally unpatriotic, hate-filled demons that are engaging in terrorism and the organized crime of murder while they're targeting, and this entire population, that includes the terrorists of the Ontario Police Department who are enemies of the United States, sharing in what is threatening an American citizen who is reporting terrorism committed by immigrants in this country and threatening an American citizen in doing so in concert with the immigrants. This is outright, again, ongoing behavior by the criminals that are together on the same team. Opposition to the United States government, to the United States of America, to the U.S. Constitution, to law and order, okay? I also want to document the entity not only engaged in that while I'm reporting a third party to I.I.S., which is also simultaneously reporting public corruption because the federal government has jurisdiction to deport every single last immigrant in California. Not only that, the entity engages in then stalking again. I've documented this pattern so many times. This is how I get 7 and 8 videos within an hour. And the entity then engages in what is repeatedly stalking in helicopter over me and around me while I then proceed to publish it on the internet. So the entity is stalking. What you'll see on video, this is a demon that's remaining and present in front of the entrance of Starbucks. That's called stalking in the path. This is what the entity does with the fake sun. This is what gang stalking is about. You're looking at what is alignment. While you're stalking in alignment to me, the entity keeps the fake sun in alignment to me on the east, in alignment to me on the west, and in alignment over the top of my head. And at nightfall, the fake moon is in alignment to me over me where I'm situated. By the way, that's on the same street, Euclid Avenue. I'm looking at the location where the fake sun rises, and this is where the fake moon is over me. This demon is engaged in surveillance by maintaining presence, and he's engaged in what is surveillance on the internet. This is also letting you know about his mental illness, about his sex offense that he's engaging in, the perpetual sex offense, and also the criminal activity that he's engaging in with the Ontario Police, who are at 9:30 p.m. maintaining ongoing demonic pacing, which is the communication of a threat, while that audible activity of helicopter is both accomplishing what is monitoring. It's also accomplishing federal stalking, which is, again, monitoring that's happening on the internet. Monitoring is relevant to surveillance, and demons are keeping you under surveillance while these are demonic spirits monitoring every move that you make while they keep engineered light all around you, stalking you with light, stalking your physical movement, stalking you with noise, and stalking in the path. And that is what is wrong with the Ontario Police, who are simultaneously presenting and creating a catalog of evidence to disband them, which is already complete. This is adding to what is understanding how you're going to target terrorism and terrorists, domestic terrorists in the United States who align with immigrants that are not welcome in this country, engaging in terrorism that the corrupt law enforcement agencies like the Ontario Police Department are to blame for. They are why they're in this country and feel comfortable enough to betray the Constitution and American citizens. They are why they're engaging in criminal conduct and then threatening an American citizen while reporting criminal conduct. And the Ontario Police that shall be disbanded. Okay, I want to be clear, for having what is a contrary and opposite position to the Constitution than the Department of Homeland Security, than the federal government, than the President of the United States, that is engaging in what is deportation for this very reason, terrorism. And the Ontario Police are engaging in terrorism. That's relevant to the videos that I'm documenting. The entity flies over my head again and is maintaining audible noise of helicopter activity. That's a threat as you're analyzing the stalker. It's also criminal monitoring. It's literal audible activity in the engineer light. None of this is natural light, multiple shadows. That's the significance of a demon standing in alignment to everywhere that they could be at the edge of the sidewalk. They could be at the opposite edge of the next building. They're staying right in front of the entrance doors because they're in alignment with my person. And they're doing so engaging in surveillance, like the demons that think that they're productive while they're putting gas in their car and they're stalking in the path, parking in that parking lot at the Chevron gas station. You're looking at demons that think that they're crafty and don't think that you know that they're stalking someone. They're stalking one particular person that they are also together engaging in surveillance because they intend to murder that person. The immigrant population is engaging in this, and the Ontario Police is engaging in conduct intending to obstruct justice, threaten an American citizen who is being targeted by the immigrants in concert with the corrupt government that is the Ontario Police. So that's the significance when you're getting to the pattern of conduct, and you're also getting to the status of that entity. And one of the statuses is that they're immigrants that are engaging in criminal monitoring. And they're engaged in criminal monitoring while they're also keeping the evidence against itself under surveillance. And it's also relevant that the government that's engaging in public corruption is actually in opposition to what the Department of Homeland Security is engaging in, which is removing terrorists. And that's what the Ontario Police Department are, and that's what the gang stalking immigrants, every single last household containing immigrants. You don't have to know their name. The fake son remains in California over me, and the entire immigrant population share in the impunity that the Ontario Police expose and illustrate and demonstrate. And the demon-possessed people of the state that are engaging in surveillance even right now share in that same impunity with regard to terrorists that need to be deported, shall be deported. Justice requires deportation. All right, it is currently 9:36 p.m. P.O.C. They are monitoring, by the way, on the Starbucks Wi-Fi network. So this is where Starbucks is engaged in. You already know the pattern of conduct. Every single Starbucks in Ontario, by the way, has a body of evidence against it. Well, that's a prosecution of that company, showing you an ongoing seamless pattern of conduct, which is criminal, and it's relevant to what is terrorism committed in furtherance of murder that is committed by a government that's engaging in public corruption, which is no longer a secret. Okay, and it occurs in a crime scene where you will see a sun that rises and sets, for example, at one location. Like I've documented is the case where the Ontario Police are engaging in terrorism with the immigrants in the state of California. This is P.O.C.
License 8GXU557 ALADAR, as in Aladar, suppose. License 8GXW647. License 8AZD800. License 7081. Oh, I can't really see that one. Oh. All right, this is the entity that is engaged in stalking with light. So these are a bunch of sex offenders, and all they're doing is stalking. And California, again, engages in gang stalking, criminal surveillance through the means of this demonic conduct, and did so under the presupposition that you would never know that they're actually engaged in what is maintaining light activity to keep you under surveillance. This isn't traffic. These are a bunch of demons that are maintaining presence together collectively as an entity. They're literally taking shifts, maintaining traffic, okay, as a means of criminal surveillance. Stalking with light, stalking in the path. Group stalking, 9FAM320, 9MZT614. It is, by the way,
1114. 54706X2. These are all sex offenders monitoring. And Gloria's Cochinas at 401 North Euclid Avenue is monitoring. The demons are monitoring while they are pacing out of the venue. Where this is what I mean. The focus is not whatever the demon possessed appear to be engaged in, which is merely a surface level assessment. They're in engineer light in a club with the state that's engaging in surveillance, while they're demons that are not actually even focused on hanging out in the club. The music is for purposes of monitoring. The light activity is for purposes of monitoring. The demons that are pacing in traffic are monitoring with them. And as I am outside, those demons are maintaining surveillance, pacing out of Gloria's Cochinas to engage in gang stalking me. And that's the how elaborate demonic activity is. It's not a matter of intelligence. If they were intelligent, then they wouldn't be exposing themselves under a fake sun. The entities engage in what is satanic, and this is relevant to what is the precision, the demonic synchronicity with which the demon-possessed are acting as a group that are unified with regard to their pattern of conduct, which is shared with regard to both the specific environment and the behavioral pattern, which is speaking to no coincidence, no ignorance, and the entity is engaging in what is an ongoing unspoken system of what is monitoring, which is an inhumane level of surveillance, while the entity is also monitoring, keeping under surveillance communication devices, everything on the internet, and surveillance is underway amongst the population by the government, and it's totally unconstitutional. All right, and this is relevant to what is the demonic activity that I'm documenting. Okay, 320 North Euclid Avenue, the Ontario Downtown Luxury Apartments. Sex offenders molesting with impossible light. All the third parties that I'm documenting are sharing that sex offense, including Gloria's Cochinas. ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue. Demons are engaging what is maintaining surveillance by going and paying money at a company, at a business as an establishment is relevant to the federal RICO case. It's public corruption. You're engaging in criminal conduct, and you're doing so under the malicious guise of being a customer somewhere. And that venue is also engaged in gang stalking. That's why when I go to ARCO, you see the fake sun remain over me as I go to that ARCO. You see the fake sun leave with me as I leave that ARCO. ARCO is engaged in criminal monitoring, and so is every demon working there and present there to engage in criminal activity. None of it constitutionally protected. It's entirely malicious. The demons are maintaining shifts with regard to surveillance at the gas station, with regard to surveillance, even the demons that are engaged in pedestrians, they're all monitoring, they're all stalking. And this is speaking to what is the actual level of concern regarding not going to work, not minding your business, not getting your bag, and not being consumed with, oh, I got to get this. And the entity I've shown you through the pattern of conduct is consumed with stalking and appearing as though they're consumed with something else while they're stalking. The entity is doing so while they are making sure that you are distracted and deceived with regard to what life is about, what you should be focused on. Meanwhile, you're being monitored. While you're being deceived, you are being monitored, every aspect of your life, including your genitalia. These are sex offenders, and they're sex offenders that are whose obsession with me is shown while they're stalking with light. These are the same sex offenders that are stalking in bathrooms and obsessed with my vagina. That's all known while they're stalking with light. You're on the opposite side of the street. There is no way that you are ever touching me with light. You're doing so because you're an obsessed demon who is stalking me, and they do so both of the male and female genders. These are homosexual women that fill the state of California, living their lives, many of them as heterosexuals, and they're not. There's sex offenders that are engaged in stalking other women that they're obsessed with, stalking other women that they are addicted to, trying to be like, follow around, obsessed with her genitalia. This is homosexuality, okay? While you are stalking me as a female, including while you're touching me with light in an impossible manner. That's going toward the mental illness of the entity, and it's also going toward what is obsession. And that's what the entity is always exposing about itself while it engages in the psychopathic and satanic means of monitoring. It's absurd, and it's also demonic, and it's also speaking to the mentally ill that are obsessed with people that they don't even know, but they do know you because they're demons. Okay? It's currently 11:18 p.m. This is P.O.C.